All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BTL. We are here with game number one between BTS and Imagine Cloud here. Going through the pick and bans is going to be an exciting game for sure. And, it warms my heart to see the Yumi band out so early. But regardless, I'm Nyarko, going to be your play-by-play for the evening alongside Jefe on color. How you feeling about these picks and bans so far?
So far, it is looking like a traditional pick and ban phase. I am personally also very happy with the Yumi ban, as well as seeing Tristana banned out is also a pleasure. So, yep.
Yeah, for sure. And we are getting the Aatrox first pick, so the meta is not escaping us here, that's for sure. This has been such a high priority selection in recent patches. 100% presence at Worlds, and that's trickling down to here in the BTL. We'll see what the answer is going to be. People have been trying a lot of stuff up against this champion, and Imagine Cloud looks like they're going to go for that Renekton to match up against it.
I really do think the Renekton has the harder laning phase versus Aatrox, but definitely a pretty even matchup in the top lane here.
Yeah, and we're going to see the Echo follow up alongside it for Imagine Cloud. This has a lot of flex potential. Can go into the jungle, can go into the mid lane. We'll see what exactly the Stro and Gruer want to do, and we'll see how the rest of these picks will play out in response. DPS going through that meta yet again, grabbing up the Seraphine. Similarly, lots of flex potential here. Three possible roles for this champion. We'll see what DPS wants to do to solidify this first rounds of picks and bans. It's going to be the Diana coming out here, which also, can go mid, can go jungle. So they're keeping their options open and hopefully destabilizing Imagine Cloud's bans for this next phase. I think we may have lost Jefe. I think he'll probably be back here in just a few moments. But while we wait, Imagine Cloud looking for that last pick of theirs, and it looks like they're actually going to snap up that Zaya. This has been a pretty solid selection. Very good up against the Seraphine, as with a well-timed R, you can dodge Seraphine's Encore, and from there, not getting charmed up, you can actually begin to wreck face there in team fights, especially given how squishy that mage can be. We'll see if Diana and Aatrox, though, can act as a good frontline up against that. And now we're moving on into the ban phase. The Senna, the Hecarim, and the Misfortune currently picked away. We'll see how DPS wants to round this one out. But Imagine Cloud gambling a little bit here, calling out the Seraphine, saying, hey, this is either going to be the supporter, be the mid laner, and in turn, we're going to knock out some AD carries.
I do personally like the MF ban quite a bit. I feel like she has been quite dominant in recent patches, and the Xayah matchup is going to hopefully play into something advantageous.
Yeah, for sure. Sejuani being hovered here for Imagine Cloud, and the Kindred also bouncing through there kind of speaks to me that we're getting a mid lane echo, which I always like to see. I think that the champion, while it does have a good gank potential, really does shine with the full gold income that you get from that mid lane. And Kindred, very, very powerful right now. You're relying a lot on the Renekton to act as a frontliner in team fights, so we probably aren't going to be seeing something like a Bork build out of them. But maybe if we get a tank in the support role that can kind of help balance out Imagine its current composition. But Rakan is still on the table as well. Meanwhile, DPS looking for their bot laner, locking in the Ash.
Interesting. Yeah. So it looks like Diana is going to go in the jungle.
Yes, definitely looking like a Diana jungle here. Been very strong recently, Hefe. I know you've been out of the loop regarding the meta, at least for a little while now. Returning triumphantly to the Rift, though, and all. But right now, Diana doing incredibly well in that role. Great gank potential. Gets incredibly tanky by going for that Sunfire build early. And I think that right now, DPS is coming through with a nice, coherent draft with a lot of possibilities for team fights, especially because you have the Renata Glass paired up with the Seraphine.
For sure. Yeah. The Seraphine Echo matchup is going to be quite difficult in the landing phase for the Echo, having to dodge her Qs, but if Echo can get to 6, that power spike hits and he can really start to pack a punch there.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see how Queen Lyre and Gruer are going to go through and kind of manage this back and forth. Echo obviously a little bit outranged, but this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup for sure. Meanwhile, closing out the draft, we do see Imagine Cloud's support go for that Amu, something a little bit tanky like I was calling for, which is really nice to see. I think that this is going to help shore up Icy's ability to actually answer back against DPS's engage potential quite nicely. Amumu has great pick potential now, especially with that doubled up Q, and maybe we'll be able to take out one of these valuable squishy targets early, and from there change the pace of the game. If Seraphine or Ashe goes down due to Curse of the Sad Mummy and Bandage Toss early on in a team fight, I think that DPS is really going to struggle to find their footing in the river and go for the front to backs that they so desire.
Yep. Very excited to hop into this game and let's.
Yeah, and we also want to say as we move on into the client draft here, we have a birthday on our hands for Kenzie Shin there in the jungle for DPS. Happy birthday to them. Going on to the Diana, we'll see if they're going to perform noteworthy compared to the fact that they are celebrating this holiday of theirs. So this will be an exciting one for sure. I don't think that there's much in the way of flex potential between these teams who kind of know where everybody is going to be set for both sides. But one of the things that I want to talk about here, Jeffrey, is this top lane matchup between Messiah and Just Relish on the Aatrox and the Renekton. Renekton, I feel, has been a perennially strong early game champion, but oftentimes struggles up against the very tip top of the meta, and Aatrox very much representing that role right now. And you said yourself, you think that Renekton is going to have a rougher laning phase. What do you think the goal of Just Relish is going to be here in this first game?
Yeah, I feel like as long as Renekton, gets through that laning phase, looks like he's not gonna go super like the Bork build, maybe tankier. I think he'll have the job as a frontliner and try to, get to the get the stuns on their AD carries.
Yeah, and I think for DPS's side, Renekton is going to have a lot of juicy targets to try to control early with that point and click CC. There's great follow up with it based upon the Amumu, the Kindred, the Echo, and the Zaya. So I think that they definitely can have a role here in team fights, but it would be nice if they're able to get Messiah on the back foot early. Aatrox, just a massively powerful 1v5 champion. We've seen it happen in the past. The healing that comes out once World Ender is activated is something terrifying to behold for sure. And this champion, it just absolutely wrecks face every single time they're selected right now. I think I saw a chart today. Currently, it's 11-4 at Worlds. Whenever it's picked, it just seems to win. And that's been trickling down here to the BTL, to all of these other amateur leagues. So hopefully we'll see if Imagine Cloud will be able to put a damper on this Darken Master there topside. And another thing to watch out for, I think, here is going to be DPS answering back with Queen Lyre and Latte Macchiato, both on champions with incredibly powerful team fight defining abilities there, going for the encore and getting the charm onto people, which you can then follow up with hostile takeover, which is a little bit slower, a little bit harder to aim. I think can really just shut down Imagine Cloud unless they play around vision, get picks early, and from there try to leverage a man advantage when they move into river, try to grabbing either the Baron or the Dragon.
For sure. Yeah, I think the Echo and the Zaya will be looking for those picks early while uh, the other team wants to really fight those team fights. But obviously, they also have that team fight potential with the Amumu and the Kindred. So excited to see
Yeah.
how this plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Very volatile on both sides. I think we're going to have a pretty action packed game ahead of us, not only in those team fights, but also throughout laning phase. Kenzie and the Stro both have a lot on their backs, trying to get their players ahead early and to try to snowball this to a victory in game number one between DPS and Imagine Cloud. We're going to throw it to a quick break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay, but don't go anywhere. This is going to be a banger for sure.
Mama said you're meant to burn as bright as a star among the midnight sky. different from the rest. You said I'd fly away, but my walls have kept me down. Now I'm lost and I'm afraid, and I'm close to hit the ground. You said I'd fly away. You said I'd fly anyway, but I keep on falling. You said I'd fly anywhere, but I keep on falling. But I keep on falling. We're all searching for that open door. Show me proof that there is something more. I just hope I am okay with the choices I make. Maybe then I'll understand. You said I'd fly away, but my walls have kept me down. Now I'm lost and I'm afraid, and I'm close to hit the ground. You said I'd fly away. You said I'd fly anyway, but I keep on falling. But I keep on falling. Mama said you're meant
Yep,
to
good.
burn as bright.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Black Twitch League. We are here in Season 13, Week 4, pushing through with DPS versus Imagine Cloud game number 1. This is going to be an exciting one for sure. Big plays coming through there in the draft. We got some huge synergies on both sides and a lot of really interesting matchups to watch for. And Imagine Cloud moving S5 through this bot lane, looking to build off of a Dr. Dad on that Amumu, trying to get a pick early on in this one.
Yep, as I move through the jungle down here, I want to see if they end up going through the bot side or to catch out maybe the Ashe or the Renato.
Yeah, nobody has established any vision in these bushes for DPS. And so right now, Red Squad has the shot to get around and get a pick onto someone big. But it looks like for the time of being, Imagine Cloud may just back off back to their own jungle.
Yep, well positioned by DPS in order to not get caught out there.
Yeah, for sure. If Latte Vanilla was just a few steps forward, they could have been picked off by Dr. Dad throwing that hook shot their way, but luckily everybody stays alive and we stay even, moving on to the minion wave spawning on up, getting a double leash bot side, so both of these junglers going to be pathing top first. And given how explosive that lane is going to be, Jefe, I think that this is a really solid call, and it means that we're probably going to get some amount of action early, especially if there is a duel over that top crab.
For sure. I think if both junglers show up top, then that fight's relatively even. Both Kindred and Diana not particularly strong in the early levels, but I would give the Kindred a little bit of an advantage there.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how that plays out. The Stro definitely with that range advantage early. Also wants to get their marks. We'll see what the first one is going to appear in here in just a few moments. But across the board, things going about how we were talking, Just Relish gets that level 2 advantage topside first, is really trying to push down and get Messiah behind early. And meanwhile, mid, Queen Lyre doing a good job, just able to stand back, wave clear, and outrange Brewer on that Echo pick.
Yeah, I'd like to see Queen Lyre really force the issue here and try to push the wave in, get Brewer lower because of his he knows he's gonna have a harder time CSing, simply being a melee champion. But looks like Brewer's really trying to go a little more aggro here.
Yeah, big use of the rotation right there, eing on in, getting the Q rake back as well. So that's a lot of damage put down on Queen Lyre for the time being. We were also getting that electrocute proc, has a small amount of advantage right there. But meanwhile, topside, Just Relish using the priority, getting that deep vision into Diana's topside jungle. They're going to know where Kenzie is for the time being. And that means that Just Relish is going to be prepared if any shenanigans go on. Meanwhile, the Stro sees that they have a marked topside, but knows that Diana is there. We'll see whether or not they pull the trigger and go for a fight around this neutral objective spawning up early. Just Relish going to rotate down. The Stro at about half health off of their clear. Messiah coming through as well, though. Echo pushing up as much as they can. The Stro goes low immediately, and Diana claims first blood, but the Aatrox is going to be popped in turn. It's still a 2v2 here with the mid laners both in the area. Just Relish gets rooted on up, but is able to dash down onto Kenzie, picks that kill up against the birthday boy. Now Queen Lyre in a little bit of trouble. They're trying to kite back towards that tower. Brewer all the while applying pressure, but at the end of the day, it's 2 kills picked up for Imagine Cloud.
Yeah, it seemed like Imagine Cloud really just had a little more fighting going on.
Yeah,
but
for sure. Brewer burns Flash trying to get on in, but will trade it back with Queen Lyre, making that Summoner spell play mid lane about even.
Yeah, but like I was saying, Imagine Cloud really just had the faster rotation there, which is why they were able to pick up the additional kill. But good job by DPS of responding back with a kill drone.
Yeah, and I mean, this went about as expected with that very aggressive placement of the mark. Kindred really just kind of had to go for that 2v2, which then kind of snowballed into a 3v3. And at the end of the day, Imagine Cloud comes out on top with that fight, about 300 gold ahead overall. So not a huge deal, is kind of equalized by the advantages gotten in the lanes by DPS early. But yeah, people willing to play early, play aggressive, and I love to see that. It means there's a lot of fights to cast here, Jefe, and that's honestly what I'm here for.
For sure. Yeah, I'd love to see more aggression coming out, especially out of the Seraphine. But
yeah, and big thing to note is that now Kindred actually manages to finally get that first crab top. It was actually not picked up by either side during that whole scrap. And so yet another way that Imagine Cloud is going to get a small advantage here early. The Stro in a pretty solid position to push and play a bit more aggressively as we move towards that first dragon that is now on the map.
for sure, looks like Imagine Cloud has the scuttle on the dragon, but other than that, no wards on it so far. So I'd like to see some vision, at least surrounding that area soon.
And right now, bot lane, Dr. Dan and Swift Duelist do have a small health advantage over Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato. And that's something to watch out for, because I think that the Amumu and Xayah on this bounce back are going to get priority over bot side yet again. And given that you already have Imagine Cloud with a bit of a vision prio over that river, I think that this is going to be the time for Red Squad to try to go for that first dragon and stack those up.
For sure, the wave looks to be pushing in their favor, so if they can get wards on there and maybe get a pick, then the dragon is going to be, looks like the Amumu's going in.
Yeah, topside, we also got some action as well. Messiah in Kenzie going to go down onto the Renekton. Just Relish does fall, but now we got action backside. Just as you're talking about, teleport going to be channeled, but Gruer is here in time to kill Latte Macchiato. Swift Duelist gets Latte Vanilla as well, and Xayah with just a sliver of health manages to get out alive. So it's a cross map 2-for-1 in favor of Imagine Cloud. They've gotten themselves a solid gold lead here, about 1,000 at 6 minutes.
Yeah, that Xayah getting out by the skin of her teeth, literally under 15 health.
Yeah, big plays for sure. And now they're maybe looking to dive down onto the Seraphine. First Banish Toss going to go wide, land down onto a minion. But Queen Liar still getting punished because of the Stroh's presence. Goes to about 200 health. But Kenzie is here now to try to turn around this fight. Dr. Dad and the Stroh sent packing as 4 members of DPS return to the bot lane.
Yeah, unfortunately after that fight, even though they did get the pick, Xayah was definitely way too low to go for a dragon there, and I think they did make the right move by not pushing the issue.
Yeah, as long as you continue to get these small incremental developments on your side, I think that Imagine Cloud scales pretty darn well off the Xayah and the Kindred. I know that Just Relish will fall off, but right now they're doing a decent job kind of playing as weak side for the time being, just making sure that Xayah can't really run this game over. And therefore, every time that you manage to get an extra kill on one of these team fights across the board, I think that Imagine Cloud is comfortable with not rushing for these dragons or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's a map control game, especially before 10 minutes, and the more vision you have, the more information you have, the better. So definitely think advantage to Beyond right now.
Yeah, DPS is going to be a little bit careful about Gruer, who's really mobile here in this mid lane, because they're oftentimes parlaying their priority with Queen Liar, but action also is occurring bot side. Dr. Dad deep into enemy territory. Swift Duelist just has to sit back, and that's going to be a pickoff because of Kenzie's rotation, and so DPS definitely answering back in a big way against Imagine Cloud's advantage.
Yep, and the Kindred notices that, so the Kindred is going to go get his mark from their topside jungle, but obviously still not a good trade. Looks like he's going to get the blue as well.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid invade here, but this is a lot of priority established bot side now for DPS as a response. And I guess Kenzie is going to pull the trigger here, go for this dragon, and DPS is going to claim the first one of the game, relatively uncontested. We'll see whether or not they want to rotate up to try to contest Imagine Cloud, who have started up Shelly as a response. But right now, Imagine Cloud doing a good job on these cross maps, and I think they are actually gaining a lot more than they're losing, just as you're saying, Jefe.
Yep, the Rift Herald is a good consolation prize, but definitely not the. Oh,
yeah, and meanwhile, mid lane, we got a lot of action. Queen Liar burns Encore, but up against the combined force of these 3 members of Imagine Cloud is just going to fall, and this provides a solid pathway forward for Gruer, who's going to be happy to get the Rift Herald dropped in their lane and first tower taken over for Red Squad.
Yeah, definitely. Now looking back at it, the Herald for Dragon trade was pretty advantageous for them.
Yeah, Just Relish pushes forward here. Both Xayah and the Renekton are going to pop ultimate. The Stroh pushes forward, getting priority over to the Crocodile, but no death is going to occur, so everybody goes even in that fight. But right now, Imagine Cloud's gold lead across the map has ballooned quite a bit. It's about 2,000 now in their favor.
Yeah, not looking too hot for DPS right now, but, you know, like we said before, Renekton falls off late game. They just gotta keep on pushing for the vision, keep on pushing for the objectives, and try to get themselves back into it.
Yeah, for sure. And right now we're in a bit of a lull state, no neutral objectives back up, and actually Gruer not able to fully claim that tower mid. It just got too many resistances with those plates still present, although he is now finally going to grab it, and that's going to really free up Echo's ability to roam. We've already been seeing them applying so much pressure across the map, and that's now only going to continue for Imagine Cloud.
For sure. The Echo on the TP is much stronger than Seraphine on the TP, in my opinion, with just the burst damage that Echo can do and really change the dynamic of a fight. So Now that Echo has mid lane under control, it's time for him to go impact either bot or top side.
Yeah, we'll see exactly where they decide to go. Obviously, Queen Lyre on the Seraphine has a lot of wave clear, so they will still be able to push things back into Gruer's tower. So he'll eventually have to come through and make a visit just to collect some amount of CS and XP, as we just saw there. But right now, things looking very much in favor of Imagine Cloud regarding tempo, and I think that they're going to continue to push the issue across the map, especially as we move towards the next Drake spawn.
For sure, yeah. Drake coming up soon, so both teams will look to establish vision there, and hopefully DPS can pick up some ground back on the next Drake fight.
Right now, do you think that Imagine Cloud actually has the raw scaling advantage, or does DPS have enough in the Renata Glask, in the Ashe, in the Seraphine to answer back against some of these big late game threats like the Xayah and the Kindred?
I think it's really going to depend on mainly how the Diana and Aatrox build. If the Diana goes very, I would say, assassin, then there's a good chance that they could get a pick and turn the tide. But if the Diana decides to play it a little safer, build more tanky, then might be a little harder for them to even outscale in the late game.
Yeah, Diana already completing that Nashor's too, so they are pretty assassin-oriented right now, and we see that as the 1v1 goes down. Kenzie thinking they could take that fight, but the Stro so strong as well, actually in that 1v1, getting the flash out of the Diana, and that's more priority over to Imagine Cloud for the time being, even if this Kindred is not on Mythic yet.
Yeah, certainly just pushing the advantage. The vision war definitely is going more towards the side of Imagine at the moment, so I would imagine that they have control of the map for the near future.
Yeah, and now we are within that minute period before this next dragon comes up. This is where I think a lot of plays are going to be made. Swift Duelist in a little bit of trouble. Kenzie Shin push forward with that speed boost coming from the Renata W, but Swift Duelist able to answer back with the pull in, and now Dr. Dad's in the area. Curse of the Sad Mummy comes down. It's the double over for the Xayah, and a third falls. Kenzie going to get the kill on to the Bird Lady bot, but it's not going to matter as that's 3-for-1 in favor of Imagine Cloud.
Yeah, that was unbelievable kiting by Swift Duelist on the Xayah. The flash out, especially getting the root with the R, playing that close to perfect in my opinion.
Yeah, and the pings come out. Imagine Cloud using this newfound advantage, pushing through, grabbing themselves this Drake. And because it was a Cloud Drake second, that does mean that this is going to be a pretty valuable soul on the table. We'll see exactly which one comes through. It will be the Mountain. And we talked a little bit about how Just Relish really needs to build a bit more tanky this game to try to act as a frontliner for Imagine. And I think that this is really going to be their ticket towards doing so.
Yeah, the Renekton currently not in a great spot, losing lane in both CS and tower pressure. So if he can get a little more tanky for late game, that might be in the best interest of their team.
Yeah, and I mean, really, look at this. The most powerful early game melee champion, really, on the Renekton, just struggling up against Messiah's Aatrox. It speaks to how good this champion is right now and how well Messiah has been playing this lane out. He's going to be a big threat for sure as we push deeper on into this mid game with these first few towers falling.
For sure, yeah. If this Aatrox gets to essentially free farm like he has been for the past 10 minutes, then he is going to be a problem.
Ashe Arrow goes down mid lane, lands onto Swift Duelist, who immediately cleanses it away. They don't want to try to step to Blue Squad right now. And so Imagine Cloud just slinks back towards the river, trying to find priority. This next Rift Herald is up, and I think that's where the fight is going to take place.
Yep, it looks like the Rift Herald is going to be the point of contention here. Looks like Imagine has the ward on it, while DPS does not have vision on it just yet.
They do pick up the Rift Scuttler, so that is going to help quite a bit. They'll know if Imagine Cloud wants to start this up, so that's something to watch out for. Both of these teams just kind of relying on the raw 5v5 and teamfight potential to decide if they want to actually try to go pick this up. Obviously, second Rift Herald, not the biggest deal in the world, but this could be the way that Imagine Cloud rubs salt in the wound. They're already up about 5,000 gold at the 16-minute mark versus DPS, and I think that this is the time for them to start flexing it.
Yeah, the Aatrox not especially, or the Renekton not especially in a great spot at the moment against the Aatrox. The Aatrox already having the Eclipse and the plated steel caps built, while the Renekton doesn't even have first item yet, so a fight at this point might just be a complete wipeout in favor of Imagine.
Yeah, Imagine doesn't want to gamble that gold lead that they have away, although Just Relish really is kind of the only weak member of the team right now. Everybody else faring very well for themselves, and Kenzie moving up here may just come face to face with the duo of the Stro and Dr. Dad. Bandage Toss comes down, and the Diana unable to even answer her back with anything of the sort. So Mizaya now all alone topside is going to be pressured pretty heavily by Red Team, and this may be the trigger for them to actually start up this Shelly.
Looks like they are starting it up. Yep. If the Aatrox doesn't have a support team coming along soon, then this Herald looks like it's going to be pretty free in the favor of Imagine.
Yeah, and we saw Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato trying to go for something up against Swift Duelist there in the mid lane, but the arrow goes wide, so you aren't even seeing DPS trading back with a pick of any sort. So Imagine Cloud walk out free, continuing to forge ahead in this game with their advantage.
Up turret is quite low though. I can see Aatrox, Messiah trying to inch closer and push Renekton out of lane in order to get there, but even then DPS is still down by quite a bit in terms of both map pressure and gold.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what DPS wants to do here as Next Dragon is spawning shortly. They do have the insurance of not getting a full rush towards Dragon Soul for Imagine Cloud. These takes have been relatively low tempo, and also you already have one dragon over to DPS, so they may not even try to contest this next one that comes up. But if they do, and they can in fact get a pick early, this could be the way that they turn this around. We see the Stro get hit there by the handshake from the Renata. Here's the push forward. Hostile takeover going to be used, but Dr. Dad is in a stasis. Here's the R from Kenzie, who's going to be able to shut down the Stro, but Swift Duelist from the back line throws their R out, gets the rake back. It's the double for the Zaya, and now Brewer able to chase down and help Dr. Dad kill the Ashe. It's going to be a pickup once again for Imagine Cloud, and they want more. Queen Liar has to walk back towards their tier 2 if they want to stay out of the way of Brewer and company.
It really is surprising to me that DPS is trying to force these fights when they're clearly behind, even trying to get the pick with Ashe. Once the arrow hit the Amumu instead of who they were going for in the Kindred, I felt like they should have backed off, but instead they felt like they needed to force the issue and ultimately lost that trade 3-1.
6,000 gold now in the pockets of Imagine Cloud over DPS, Jefe. This is such a hard deficit to come back from. I don't care if you have your meta champions. They just don't have the gold to deal with the monstrous power of Imagine right now. Mizaya, maybe their only shining hope, but even then, he's been doing so little to impact the rest of the map. Still has the teleport up, but Brewer maybe in a little bit of trouble. Pops the R in the mob, wants to get down onto Latte Macchiato, but is unable to do so in time. So that is a pickup by DPS, but I don't know what they can do off of it.
Yeah, mistake by Brewer there, but not much in terms of the map that they can really push. Maybe a mid lane turret here would be the next best thing, but I'm skeptical they can even get there in time.
Yeah, and without any pushing the lanes, Just Relish just happy to kind of sit in the back line, wait for a fight to occur. Dr. Dad goes on in, pops Curse of the Sad Mummy. Latte Macchiato goes low, has the Ignite on them, has to flash back, tries to use the E to shield on up, but the Stro is there with the flank. Lamb's Respite comes down. Kenzie's so darn low, but Queen Liar able to kill the Kindred in response. Mizaya comes forward, still at full health. He's absolutely monstrous, and this could be the turnaround we were talking about, Jefe. The shutdown goes over to the God of War, and Just Relish is not far behind. Everybody but Brewer is dead on Imagine Cloud side. He has to R away. He gets a triple for himself, but in the 1v1, the Echo cannot handle the power of this top laner, and it's an ace for DPS.
That Aatrox, like you said, you know, the meta champions are meta champions for a reason. The fight looked like it was going DPS's way with the Amumu flash ult into a nice follow-up, but that Aatrox just showed up a little bit before the Renekton and the Echo were able to get there, and in that sense, it's going to be a lot harder to sustain that DPS.
Yeah, and within the course of just a few minutes, that gold lead has shrunk. It's now about 3,500 in favor of Imagine Cloud, so definitely DPS not out of the woods yet, but you can't take that kind of premature engage that Dr. Jad tried for again, or you're suddenly going to find yourself onto the back foot, and if more people survive on one of these sides, that's a Baron play right there.
Yeah, luckily it was a 4v5 trade, but definitely gave DPS some hope there in order to get back into this game where it seemed like Imagine was just going to run away with it.
And look at how big Aatrox's buy is off of all of that juicy shutdown gold. Black Cleaver Eclipse completed alongside Tank Boots, and they are moving nicely along to, I believe, what is a Death's Dance is their third item. I'm not too sure about Bruiser itemization anymore. As I've quit playing top lane, it is very bad for my MMR.
I feel that. I believe, yes, with the Chain Vest and the Warhammer, that is a Death Dance that Aatrox will try to build for next year.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, Just Relish so far behind. We do see the Bramble Vest come out, so this could read as a Thornmail secondary, which will definitely help with the front line and to cut down upon Messiah's healing. But right now, Imagine Cloud got to be a little bit more judicious in how they want to take these fights. That being said, this could be the catch out. Messiah, maybe with some newfound confidence, going to get punished for doing so. Latte Macchiato with the hostile takeover is going to allow for the rest of Red Squad to go berserk at least for a little while, but unfortunately it's not enough time for Messiah to escape. Shutdown goes over to Swift Duels, and the fight continues. Quinn Liar going to drop a nice encore, but unfortunately everybody's already on top of the Songstress champion. The double-double goes over to Brewer, and we talked about a Baron play. Jefe, here it comes through for Imagine Cloud.
Yeah, and honestly, Messiah and Queen Lyre, they didn't even get their damage off, so this Baron is going to go completely free without contest to Imagine, which is just the worst possible thing that you want to see after that.
And we talked about the push in the pull for the gold lead, Jefe, but now it's back to a 7,000 advantage for Imagine Cloud. This is almost insurmountable with so much of that gold concentrated on Brewer and Swift's Duelist. These two champions have incredible damage output, and as long as Messiah is taken care of, all the rest of these champs are so squishy. They fall so easily. We have the Sunfire Cape finally finished by Kenzie, but even then, I don't think they could survive against this onslaught that the team brings forward from Red Squad.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's going to be a really tough ask for DPS in order to get back into this game. The only way I see it happening at this point is maybe a nice Ash arrow into a pick, but even then, 7k is, at this point, 25 minutes is going to be hard to overcome, especially while having to fight that Baron buff push.
Yeah, but DPS, they want to actually try to contest this drag and not allow for Imagine Cloud to go to Soul Point. They push into the river, are actually able to get the reset on that neutral objective. The question is, are they all a bark and no bite? Will they actually pull the trigger if a fight is ahead of them? Because I think that right now, Imagine Cloud can call their bluff. They can just start this drag right back up again. The mark is on it. The Stro will start it once more, and now it's all eyes on a Messiah to try to go for the engage. Ash Arrow comes through. The stun goes down on it to Swift Duelist, who doesn't have the cleanse up, but they're going to use R and combine with the Lamb's Rest, but they stay alive. They rain Hellfire down upon the opponents. Brewer gets the double-double, and they want more. They continue to push forward at full health down onto Latte Vanilla, who tries to trade back onto Dr. Dad, but they're unable to do so, giving the triple kill over to the Echo and the Dragon over to Imagine Cloud.
Yeah, they definitely called their bluff there. DPS had no vision walking in blind into that dragon pit, and coming from 7k cooled down, no matter how well you play that fight, you're just gonna get out damaged.
Yeah, and it's a very odd macro call by DPS to not just concede that, because they have virtually lost the game off of that play, Jefe. We see them bearing down on mid. Imagine Cloud looking to at least get inhibitor, if not more, here off this play. They still have the Baron buff. They have the empowered backs. They're really able to walk onto the Rift wherever they so desire. They're starting to lay siege to this bot side inhibitor as well. Messiah comes forward, gets the knock up onto Gruer. Gruer pops R, goes back to full health, but is in a little bit of trouble here with the rush down. He will be able to eat away, but gets slowed and turned by the W. Nice flash out of the way to dodge the stun from Ash Arrow, but shut down. Still goes over to the Aatrox, and now DPS happy to give chase, make sure that Imagine Cloud have the worst backs of their life.
Yeah, I mean, they have super minions pushing up soon. They're not going to be able to chase for long.
That is also true. Yeah, DPS walk as far as they can, but they can't get much more than that shutdown. And while it did go over to the MVP of DPS, the question is, how much is too much and how little is too little? I mean, really at this point, Aatrox needs to basically get 5 kills in a row, get every shutdown on that enemy team if they want to ride this pony to victory, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, the shutdown does help, but still, that gap is over 10k now. They need a lot more than just a few shutdowns to get back into this game gold-wise.
They do have those objective bounties as well, so hopefully if they do manage to find an ace, DPS will get some extra gold off of it. But yeah, it's going to take more than one solid play to get back into this. They have thrown many times now, and Imagine Cloud really has just been pushing their advantage so darn well. Just Relish pushes forward, will get hit by the tail end of that encore though, and now with the hostile takeover coming down, that's going to provide enough CC for Dr. Dad to get all locked up. He's going to go to stasis yet again. Here's the teleport from the backline coming through from Gruer. He's going to enter the fight in earnest now. Dr. Dad still getting rushed down, will be hit by the Emerald Chains, but the double over to the Xayah all the while. The Echo is barely needed now. Imagine Cloud happy to take the 4v5 and come out ahead. Everybody except Latte Macchiato and Queen Liar are left dead on the field. Then these two remaining champions of DPS just have to cower under their tier 3 tower.
You know it's an issue when the
oh my
Messiah.
gosh, Gruer
no.
just pushes forward as well. Dr. Dad has remained alive throughout this, all flashes the mastery off that pickoff. It's the double. Echo has gotten themselves another ace on the table. Imagine Cloud go to end this one in a stylish fashion.
What a game. Just push the advantage to the end there, never let up, and that's what resulted in this under 30-minute win for Imagine.
Yeah, Imagine Cloud looking so dominant in this one. Their cross-map plays honestly really impressed me, Jefe. I'm glad that they continued to just weak side Just Relish, get the advantages where they could, and eventually, off of some solid team fights in River, Gruer and Swift Duelist grew into an absolutely unstoppable killing machines right there, and they had fantastic backup because of Dr. Dad and Just Relish. The Stro all the while grabbing each and every objective necessary for them to push through the win, and so in this 3-game series, Imagine Cloud already has a victory under their belt.
For sure. Yeah, other than the fight in the mid lane where the Echo got there a little too late, Imagine Cloud really played that end game quite phenomenally. I don't think they could have pushed a lot of their advantage any harder. They backed in at the right times. They got the Baron fight they wanted. They got the Dragon Pit fight they wanted. Ultimately, just a pretty routine cleanup at the end there.
Yeah, for sure. Solid game for Imagine Cloud on red side. DPS gonna have to go back to the drawing board if they want to win this one. Messiah did very well for themselves alongside Kenzie Shin. These two players got the chunk of the kills for their team, but unfortunately, bot lane just struggled so hard in this matchup. They were unable to match up against Swift Duelist, and from there, they unfortunately drop game number 1. We're going to see how they adjust. We're going to see how they try to come back into this. We're going to throw it to a quick break, but when we return, it'll be the second draft of the night. BTL. We are here with game number 2 between Imagine Cloud and DPS. Imagine Cloud popping off game number 1, doing a solid job from red side to answer back against a lot of the meta picks that came through. We'll see how the draft is going to change now that DPS doesn't have that first pick priority, and therefore Aatrox maybe not on the table for them.
Looks like the bans are coming out, and they are quite similar on the side of both Imagine Cloud and DPS with the Zillion, Yuumi, and Tristana bans, but interesting to see how DPS chooses to change their strategy here coming off of that pretty one-sided loss.
Yeah, I definitely think that a shakeup has to be in order for them. And look at this. Imagine a Cloud. They smell blood in the water. They're just going to lock in the Aatrox for themselves. Just Relish, definitely not too happy about being weak-sided last game, is going to say, all right, here, I'm taking this champion for myself now.
For sure, yeah. The meta picks will always come through in the end, and it seems like he didn't seem too happy being sort of pushed out of lane as for Nectin, so now he's going to be doing the pushing, hopefully.
Yeah, and DPS, two interesting selections to start off here. The Akali probably going mid lane with a Lux also being on the table. This could indicate that Latte Macchiato and Latte Vanilla want to go for something like a Kate Lux bot lane. We'll see whether or not Imagine Cloud will actually try to snipe away that Caitlyn here with their second selection, or maybe they're reading that's going to be Akali top, Lux mid. Still a lot of flexibility on the table for sure coming through for Red Squad. Imagine Cloud just going to ignore all that jazz, go for the Gragas here, bring a little bit more flex to the party.
What an interesting pick, the Gragas second pick. Was not expecting that. Hopefully with the Aatrox there's a little synergy there, but not super sure how they plan on building around that team fight.
Yeah, and the Yasuo coming out as well, which, you know, has quite a bit of synergy with the Gragas, so I'm understanding that pick a little bit more. Yasuo most likely going mid lane, and that's going to put the Gragas into the jungle, actually, unless we see the Happy Chime Noises fan club come through, and it's going to be Aatrox jungle, which has been done. I have seen it. I think that you're probably just giving up so much value, though, when you put them top lane, so I imagine that this is going to be a pretty clear pathway forward for Imagine. And meanwhile, DPS grabbing themselves the Jhin here, and that's leaving us open to where the Lux exactly is going to be going.
Yeah, the Lux pick is very interesting still. I would expect the Lux to go support, but at the end of the day, if it's a Kali top, Lux mid leaves quite a bit of I guess squishiness on their side so far.
Yeah, I would imagine the DPS is going to have to go for something like a Sejuani jungle to shore up their current selections. And I also just find that Lux versus Yasuo mid is going to be very tough unless the Lux is very good at hitting their skill shots. Queen Liar going to have the work cut out for them for sure in that matchup. But Imagine Cloud actually going to continue to take away some AP damage, knocking away a Lilia in that bans.
Yeah, the Lilia ban is coming at a perfect time. I think a Lily on their comp would be devastating, and on the other side, Xayah and a Mumu. Obviously, we saw the damage that a Mumu did last game, so probably wanted to avoid that similar situation coming again.
Yeah, the Seraphine also getting banned out here, so DPS have a pretty interesting pathway ahead of them and how they're going to construct this team. And meanwhile, Imagine Cloud a little bit more open. They have to figure out what they're putting bot, though.
Yeah, let's see what they pick. I am very curious as to their comp so far.
Yeah, and we talked about tankiness. There's tankiness right there, and this actually is starting to look like it's going to be Lux support with an Akali mid.
For sure, with a Psy on top. Yep.
I mean, it could be Scion jungle. That's also playable, but DPS, I think, need to get something a little bit faster clearing if they want to try to out-tempo the Gragas selection. And Imagine Cloud, with their blue side prio, continue to kind of go on that hype train for newly meta champions. The Kaisa coming through for Swift Duelist. We saw them pop off on the Xayah last game. This time it's banned away, and we'll see how they'll answer back on this other dive-oriented champion with a lot of mobility for an ADC.
For sure. Yeah, the comp is actually coming together better than I thought it would. Going for the sort of Gragas, Yasuo, Wombo combo.
Yeah, and the Aurel locked in as well. You talked about Wombo combos, Jefe, and Aurel Yasuo is a dream team for sure. I'm happy that it's coming out. One of my favorite champions has finally power spiked back into the meta for the first time in a while. Very durable, will work as a fantastic frontline alongside the Gragas and the Aatrox, and this frees up the Graggy to also just build a little bit more damage on themselves.
For sure, yeah. I'd love to see, this might be going back to like Season 5, Season 6 vibes, but full AP Gragas, maybe?
Maybe, yeah, there's definitely some room for AP damage on that team. Meanwhile, DPS grabbing themselves the Diana as well, and so it is going to be a Lux support with a Jhin, and then the Diana going back into the jungle. Kenzie did very well on it last time as one of the shining bright spots for DPS, so I'm happy to see it returning to the Rift for game number 2.
For sure, yeah. The Diana hopefully can provide a bit more impact for DPS this time around, but like we said before, the jungle pressure is definitely going to go to Imagine Cloud, at least early on.
Yeah, and I mean, Imagine Cloud, we saw what they can do with pressure. They're very good at playing off of their vision lines, just moving that priority up the Rift as time goes on. And with this explosive composition where you have the Aatrox able to provide knockups, as does the Gragas and the Rel, this Yasuo in the hands of Gruer, who was so disgusting on the Echo in game number 1, could actually just single-handedly carry this game all the way home. And this isn't even to speak about the fact that Swift and Willis and Just Relish are on 2 of the most powerful meta champions right now.
For sure, yeah. That matchup in the mid lane is going to be quite the banger, if I do say so myself.
You're starting to get in with the casting terminology. We say banger constantly because we have nothing else better to describe things as, Jefe. So congratulations. First usage of that word on broadcast. It's always a rite of passage for us casters.
Of course.
Yeah, and now we're just moving on into the client draft. I don't think there's going to be too much in the way of flex potential. Obviously, you could swap the Aatrox and Gragas if you're feeling like a mad person on Imagine Cloud side. And similarly, DPS could go for a top jungle swap, but I imagine this is not going to go through. Mizaya most likely on the Scion. And I have to ask you, Jefe, what do you think about Just Relish on Aatrox versus Mizaya on Scion? I haven't seen these two go head-to-head all that often.
Yeah, they both I suppose sort of have that undead theme to them, which is kind of fun, but
it's flavorful if not explosive.
Exactly. But I do think that the Scion will certainly have trouble keeping up with the wave push of Aatrox, given the attack speed that Imagine Cloud is going to have there. So I imagine that the lane is going to be quite passive for the most part, not too much action going on, but if there is any, it's definitely going to be the Aatrox initiating in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think that this is going to be Mizaya going for a more team fight oriented Scion? You're actually going to be using your ults to get into kind of the mob that Imagine Cloud will be playing for? Or do you think we're just going to be seeing something much more pushing for splits across the map, just going cross map, trying to get towers down, channeling a bit of the boss FFs?
Yeah, looking at the two comps, I really think DPS isn't built out as well for team fights with the Akali, Diana, Lux. Seems like we want to get out a lot more picks, try to maybe go for more split pushes. So Scion might be going for the split push build here, but don't get me wrong, Aatrox is just as good, if not better, a split pusher as Scion. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out there.
Yeah, I will say it feels like Imagine Cloud has just a fantastic 5v5. We already talked about the Aatrox Rel Yasuo synergy, but I think that because of that, Just Relish is going to have a little bit more decision making on the table. Do they want to try to match Mizaya? Do they just want to smash a 4v5? It really is going to be up to this early game and how that plays out as well, for sure. Imagine Cloud versus DPS. Game number 2 on the docket. We're heading into a real banger of a match. We're going to throw it to a quick break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay, but when we return, we'll see if DPS can hold on to the series and bring it to a decisive game number 3. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the BTL. Missed my cue right there, so I kept you guys in silence for a little bit too long. But hey, we are back with Imagine Cloud versus DPS game number 2. DPS looking to claw back, take this to a decisive round playoff here with game number 3, but they got to get through Imagine Cloud's draft this time around. Aatrox going into the hands of Just Relish, and we'll see how they pilot that champion up against Messiah, this time going towards the Scion.
Loving the skin choices on both the Aatrox and the Scion, not gonna lie there, but yeah, looking like no cheeky invades to start off this time. Looks like we'll just be walking into laning phase as usual.
Yeah, we'll see exactly where the junglers decide to start here. That's, I think, going to be a deciding factor for the pace of this early game, as we did see the Stro and Kenzie go at it early, get a 3v3 in that topside river, just like the old times when the Scuttle Crab was actually worth something. And we'll see if that happens again. It does, in fact, look like it's going to be a double leash bot. So, hey, more action on the horizon. Just Relish and Messiah need to be ready for that.
For sure, yeah, the pathing top lane is going to be an interesting fight if the 2v2 ends up happening there.
Yeah, and I'm not actually sure who wins it this time. I think Kenzie maybe has the advantage with the Scion, if the Scion's able to actually get good positioning in the fight, land a charged up Q, but otherwise, Just Relish is such a consistent source of damage, even in these first few levels.
For sure, yeah, I definitely think it's a relatively even fight there if they're both level 3, simply because Diana simply is just not as strong as Gragas with the CC at that point in time.
Yeah, and we'll see exactly what's going to come to pass as everybody just trying to feel each other out. Messiah actually has that level 2 spike first. Just Relish gets hit by the charged Q as well, is down quite a bit of health, and is kind of in a rocky position here. He'll just have to cede away some amount of priority to Red Squad.
It looks like the Just Relish is going to let the wave push here, which is something I did not expect. I would have thought he would push the tempo, but looks like the early trait that Scion got in is enough to convince him to maybe let Scion take sort of the lead on the lane here.
Yeah, and I mean, this could provide the opportunity for the Stro to come up and go for a gank. They're going to move over and maybe even go for a cross-up invade into enemy territory. Ping's already coming out, though. Kenzie is wise to their ploy, and now they may get pincered there by Messiah.
Yeah, this fight looks like it could happen if Messiah decides to flash in for the stun, but
yeah, for the time being, it does look like the Stro just kind of curves up towards the top side. Just Relish is there to act as peel, and so nothing yet going to go down between Imagine Cloud and DPS. Across the rest of the map, the waves are playing out about as expected, but now here's the wraparound. Gruer coming up, roaming into river, as is their trademark, going for a fight, and we also have action bot side. Latte Macchiato gets dove down by Dr. Dad, goes low with the Ignite in the Void Missile. Swift Duelist picks up that one, but Latte Vanilla goes low as well. But
wow.
at the very end of that, this Jin cannot get the last shot off. Dr. Dad remounts in the nick of time, saves the Kaisa, and it's a 2-0 in favor of Imagine.
That is the worst possible scenario there. Simply just no trade back in terms of kills for
Wow, in the
Jin.
top side fight as well. The flash forward, Just Relish able to get the solo bolo up against Messiah, but Kenzie heads up a play there, using the revive pressure off of the Scion to help get on in, get a kill back onto the Aatrox and clean that up. It's 3-1 as the kill score right now. Slight gold lead for Imagine Cloud, about 1,000 at 4.5 minutes in.
Yeah, here you just see Imagine Cloud doing the same thing they did last game, pushing the tempo, trying to get the picks, and getting that initiative, even though the lane for Just Relish should be in his favor. It doesn't seem like he's pushing as much as he would want to.
I mean, yeah, that kill is going to help. It's a nice influx of gold over Messiah. Only gets the assist on the bounce back as well because the kill went over to Kenzie. So that should hopefully allow for Just Relish to play a little bit more aggressively. We'll see exactly how things feel out as Just Relish actually using that priority, teleporting and coming down through mid lane, looking for an early cross-map play.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't look like he is going to get anything out of it simply because the area was warded and they had the information. But again, good initiative.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you oftentimes see top laners so isolated. Those plays are a rarity. I was pretty surprised that it came through, but I'm happy at the same time. Just Relish, definitely a team player. We saw that with how they piloted the Renekton in game number 1 as well. They were happy being weak-sided, and that may continue here. We'll see exactly if they just want to try to play for Brewer and others, as the push through mid is going to be thwarted. Kenzie and Queen Alire just have to back off here as Yasuo is back under tower.
Yep, Akali hitting that 6 first maybe could have pushed the advantage there against the Yasuo, but it looks like nothing will come of it in the end. Kenzie taking the weird path up, getting poked a little bit, but
Dr. Dad gonna engage bot side as well, get the stun down with the Latte Macchiato, who gets ignited once more, but this time stays quite a bit more healthy. Latte Vanilla still at full health as well, is able to flash on forward, gets the kill up against the Kaisa, and now with the Latte Macchiato coming back around, it's going to allow for the Jhin to establish a double-double bot side and even up the kill score for DPS.
that was certainly a great trade by DPS, though now.
Oh, Brewer in a lot of trouble on the rotation. Queen Lyre is able to match it, and now they're caught in the blender. The Akali picks that one up, and with that play, suddenly DPS has steamrolled into the lead. Topside Just Relish, though, activates World Breaker. They see everyone else on their team falling, and they want to turn this around. They're going to get the solo bolo up against the Scion.
Yeah, certainly Just Relish figured out that, hey, I'm Aatrox. I can brute force my way past this Scion, so overall.
Yeah, and Swiftulus pushes forward here, trying to get the kill onto Latte Macchiato, but luckily the Lux is able to hit a binding and stop a further push. So right there, Kaisa able to get quite a bit of pressure, but unfortunately can't get the kill. Meanwhile, the Stro, maybe looking for a steal, has to flash back out of the pit.
Yep, great body blocking by Latte Vanilla there. But
It's always nice to see an ADC actually care about their support and, you know, save a support's life. When was the last time that's happened in one of your solo queue games?
honestly, yeah, this is a truly team player right here.
Applause for Latte Vanilla, being one of the few sane ADC mains out there in the world. Oh gosh, you want to play a fun game? You want to watch how long it takes for Rel to clean out 2 wards with that abysmal auto attack speed? Oh gosh, what a champion.
He's getting there. Oh, he did it.
Yeah, in time. I mean, the whole team almost rotated down onto the Rel, but, you know, they get out alive. They get some vision score over to themselves. I don't understand why we just don't give Rel the Umbral Glaive passive, honestly. I think it would help a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a... Maybe we can write a little petition to Riot, and they'll...
Yeah, unfortunately, she's just too strong in pro play right now, so I don't think that's ever going to happen. But Lord, does it feel bad when nobody on your team wards, and it's only up to the support to try to do something. We have some action mid lane, though. Ultimate comes through, but the knock-up to be had, and it will allow for Groot to Last Whisper on in, and alongside Explosive Cask, it will be the Diana falling mid lane. Imagine Cloud getting themselves the advantage yet again. Now just Relish a 1v1ing Mizaya once more, this time under the red side turret. Chains come down. They're going to lock on up onto the Scion, but bot side, Swift Duelist is in a whole lot of trouble with the curtain call, and luckily with the flash, they're able to get out alive, but they're in a lot of trouble with Latte Macchiato landing a solid laser beam down, and the support grabs one over to DPS.
That was simply amazing how the Lux was able to sort of mind game that ultimate in order to just time it right.
Yeah, Swift Duelist already had to bob and weave through 4 shots of Jhin ultimate, but unfortunately the laser beam was too much to deal with. Though Latte Macchiato still able to salvage that play. DPS once again evening up that kill score and trying to stay farther up against Imagine Cloud than they did in game number 1.
For sure. Yeah, the CS differential in every lane seems to be relatively even.
Yeah,
so
just
far.
Relish flashes away topside, has to use World Ender, but baits out Mizaya's ultimate as well. And then now the Stro wants to re-engage, but Queen Lyre has priority over that river, and Gragas definitely has overstepped now, tries to get out, but really has nobody else there to help defend. And that overstep means that for the first time, DPS have the kill advantage.
Yeah, I think Kragus there was expecting Aatrox to come join him in the fight, but
But with
Just
what? I
Relish.
mean, no ultimate, no flash.
Exactly, Just Relish made the right call there and just staying behind the wall and unfortunately letting his teammate get picked off.
Yeah, and now DPS have claim over that Rift Herald. They're looking to push into one of these lanes, get some gold over to someone like hopefully Latte Vanilla on that Jhin, who's been doing so well for themselves bot side of the map. If they can manage to take down a first tower, free up priority, they can really flip the script on what happened to them in round one.
For sure. Yeah, it looks like they're the ones taking the initiative, pushing the tempo this time, so love to see that from DPS here.
Yeah, right now, Imagine Cloud's still about 400 gold ahead, but you have to look at that Rift Herald as gold in potentia that is yet to been actualized by DPS. I think that they clearly have the advantage right now, and if they can continue to pick people off with Latte Macchiato playing so cleanly on this Lux, I really do think that Imagine Cloud are going to have to look at this game in a different light, and we see that start up. There's the pick off. Latte Macchiato getting a great ultimate down on the Swift Duelist. They don't have the flash and maneuverability to get out this time. Rel tries to peel with their ultimate, but unfortunately some nice placements of skill shots means not only the Kaisa is going to die, but the Rel as well. It's going to be the double kill yet again for the Jhin. Top side once more, we see the 1v1 go down. Just Relish wants to answer back for their fallen comrades and go down onto Mizaya, but the Scion has gotten tanky. World Ender comes out, but I think the Scion is able to kite that one back towards the tower. No big deal.
That Jhin final shot on his ultimate really changed the game there. I thought that they were going to get out of that clean, but Jhin hitting that last shot was crucial, especially since that last shot does, I believe, crit damage every time. So props to the Jhin for hitting that shot.
Yeah, now DPS in the driver's seat. We have the second dragon on the table. First one already claimed by Red Squad. They may look for a second one here. Mizaya has to flash out of the chains topside up against Just Relish. So that will be a core summoner spell gone for this champion. And we are beginning to see once again a mirror image of game number one, Jefe. I mean, right now Just Relish dominating that lane top, but it's still very much a weak-sided part of the map. And Imagine Cloud is losing elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like the basically we flip sides, but the general course of the game has gone very similarly.
Latte Vanilla at 4-1 and 2, so scary on that Jhin. Has the Gale Force completed alongside their Swifties, and so they're really kind of able to take all comers. Kaisa still working towards their Berserker's Greaves for the time being, has the Kraken Slayer completed.
The Jhin with the Swifties definitely can be annoying to catch sometimes.
Yeah, they are the fast, don't you know? All right, we are seeing a bit of an engage here over this dragon. Gruer trying to push forward. Big knockup, but the Diana ultimate response means that so many members of Blue Squad are locked down. Latte Vanilla going to get the kill, but we have Swift Duelist diving on into the backline. Mizaya is here, though. Shutdown goes over to Just Relish against the Akali, but now DPS is trying to turn this around. Scion from Bush with the Q knockup, and we have Latte Macchiato at 100 health, still able to affect the fight from the backline, and now with this push back into River, Latte Vanilla is just able to rain down Hellfire with their ultimate. It's going to be an advantageous fight for DPS once more, as only Dr. Dad gets out.
Like we talked about, that Jhin was hard to catch in that fight. I thought he was going to get picked off initially in the front, but he just kept on kiting back and ultimately was able to pick off and do a lot more DPS than the Kaisa.
Latte Macchiato kind of struggling here, trying to get damage down onto this Hextech Drake, but because of the static Shiv effect, they're getting really close to just being executed. Luckily, with their laser beam, they're able to claim that neutral objective on up for DPS, but that could have been scary if Imagine Cloud was up just a little bit faster.
For sure, yeah. The Latte Macchiato even ulting at the end to get the damage into the dragon, but
as long as it goes over to red by hook or by crook, they are going to come out ahead in that fight and in that play.
For sure, yeah. Only about a 1k gold lead, but the two dragons certainly will flip the script soon enough.
Yeah, Imagine Cloud really are going to be pressured to try to fight for those neutral objectives as the game goes on. I think that if DPS can get to Soul Point, their map control is really going to become super problematic, as Imagine Cloud has been struggling even in the front to backs they should be excelling in here in game number 2.
I do want to see the classic Gragas Yasuo wombo combo at some point in this game. So
We saw a little bit of it in that mid lane fight when Kenzie died, but yeah, we aren't getting the full 5-mans that this duo is known for quite yet.
for sure, yeah. It's always a sight to see though when it actually happens.
Swift Duel is going to try to take this 1v1 versus Latte Macchiato, is able to pop the Lux like a balloon, but Queen Alire already there on the rotation is going to answer back. And now Dr. Dad and Gru are a bit overextended getting that mid lane tier 1. Yasuo wants to go in. I think Rel has some other ideas. Finally going to be able to jump into the melee, gets the double knockup. There's the ult coming out. Kenzie going to die, but Gru is soon to follow after because of Queen Liar's combined force with Latte Vanilla Wing from far away. It's an even fight overall for Imagine Cloud and DPS.
Yeah, in that fight we also missed a little skirmish top lane there with Messiah having to ult out, but certainly a little bit more of that wombo combo with the 2-man knockup on the ult, so we're getting there.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, Gruer has not been picking up kills in these exchanges. That last one went over to Dr. Dad. Currently, the Yasuo 0-3, and given how much of the team is built around making sure that his ultimate goes through, it's a problematic situation, I think, for blue side.
For sure, yeah, you definitely do not want to be funneling those kills like that, but, you know, at the end of the day, there's, the gold goes to someone, so.
You know, and I'm typically a big advocate of, hey, maybe actually allow for your supports to get to at least first item so they can truly frontline, but Gruer definitely needs the gold funnel towards them in this team. I'm not going to lie. Imagine a Cloud right now with some awkward distribution, although they are even across the board versus DPS on that gold count.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, that last fight really swung the gold back into, you know, pretty neutral territory, so honestly at this point still anybody's game, and now even with the tower take, now they're even up.
Yeah, and we'll see exactly what's going to translate here with this Rift Herald up. If the fight's actually going to go down, I do think that both sides have to be incredibly careful about how they want to initiate this. Latte Macchiato has been doing a great job positioning from the backline for DPS and giving a lot of priority and a lot of pick potential over to the rest of their team. And you don't have Gruer up there for the fight. So once again, that core wombo combo not going to be on a line if Imagine Cloud actually try to go for this Rift Herald. Topside though, Messiah might actually be the target. Just Relish pushes on in, gets that Q down, forces the ult off once again, and Messiah has to go back towards the safety of their tier 1.
Yeah, I don't know how fruitful ganking a tank Scion is at this point in the game. You could be, the Gragas could be dedicating resources to, you know, putting vision in mid and bot in preparation for the dragon. At this point, it doesn't seem very tactically advantageous to be continuously focusing that top lane there.
Yeah, they might just want the tower, but honestly, Messiah is doing such a good job of defending the tier 1, and even if you do manage to dive down and get the kill, if you take too many tower shots, the Scion's passive could actually just turn this around, get a kill over to them, and bam, suddenly they're back in business, building up more than just their first item.
For sure. We have dragon spawning soon, so both teams are setting up.
Yeah, and Teleport's presence for both top laners is something to watch out for sure. We see already Queen Alire moving down into that bot side, getting the blast plant over the wall to make sure that Imagine Cloud going to have to walk up the old-fashioned way. Here comes the teleport from the Aatrox. We'll see if Scion is immediately going to answer back or just start walking towards these lanes, as we do see the pickoff here. Swift Duelist and a whole lot of trouble up against Latte Vanilla. Laser Beam comes out. Latte Macchiato with the uncontested kill, and the Stroke tries to push forward, has Dr. Dad at their back. There's a flash forward. There is the ultimate, but now the Scion able to ult down the mid lane, get the knockup. Messiah picks that up, and now Imagine Cloud is running free, running fast, has to get away. Curtain call from Latte Vanilla acting as suppressive fire. DPS in full control of the river.
That was just unbelievable, just getting picked off one by one. Imagine Cloud was. The Gragas looked like he was going to put off a nice ult, but Yasuo was nowhere near the fight, so wasn't able to get that knock up in time, and ultimately just seemed a little uncoordinated on Imagine Cloud's part.
Yeah, imagine Cloud now very much on the back foot, down 1,000 gold, and now Soul Point is on the table for DPS. And look at the champions they have. These are a bunch of picks that benefit heavily from Cloud Soul. You're able to just reposition so well with Jin just running super fast all across the map. Mizaya similarly able to do a great job utilizing the bonus movement speed, especially after an ult. Topside we may be seeing some action though. Just Relish pushing so far forward. Dr. Dad with the wraparound. They're able to get Kenzie with the tip of their W, and that allows for Gruer to go in with the ultimate knockup, but they don't have the damage to finish off the Diana quite yet. It's gonna be the dive under tower. Gruer able to pick that kill up. The tower is going to fall. Queen Liar and Latte Macchiato up here, able to provide some amount of peel, some amount of suppressive fire, but the jungler is still dead. It will be one back alongside that turret for Imagine Cloud.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if this Lux had more damage than some of the other, some of her teammates at this point. She is absolutely doing work, but certainly a great pick by DPS, by Imagine Cloud, and picking off Diana and getting that tower there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is going to help free up the map quite a bit. Getting it topside, especially when Baron Nashor is the next big thing on the table, is solid. Imagine Cloud, as we said before, very much a team that likes to play around their vision lines set up on the macro level and try to go for picks. And I think that this is now their opportunity to do so. Just Relish able to now try to work through bot, try to work through mid, and just generally get freed up a lot more across the map. And that Aatrox so powerful, so good at working with their goal to actually try to claw back for Imagine Cloud. I think that this is now maybe the turning point, and DPS have to be careful.
For sure, but still with this 3-dragon lead, it's, I would say, still in DPS's favor, but definitely need to get more vision out there in order to not get caught as often like the Diana just unfortunately did.
Gruer really deep into enemy territory right now, and we see the pings come out. Kenzie is starting to rotate top. Meanwhile, bot side Just Relish and Mizaya classically just going at it on the island, and we'll see what this turns into, because like I said before, any picks, any big deaths could lead to a disaster for either side. Kenzie getting caught out first though. Lux laser beam from across this far side means that combined with Curtain Call, the Yasuo is going to be shut down, and now the Stro is the one caught out. Dr. Dad comes up alongside Swift Duelist, but they are too late. They witnessed a murder, Jefe. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of the red team.
Yeah, I'm sure that Imagine Cloud thought they were picking out the Diana again, but little did they know that the entire team was rotating up there to help their jungler out. There's absolutely no reason they should be pushing that far ahead at this point with no vision in their jungle.
Yeah, for sure. And you just saw them all mid. Where else are they going to go? They're not moving bot side. There's no dragon up. And so unfortunately, Imagine Cloud with a risky gamble playing on the ragged edge, and they get punished for doing so. Mizaya, Just Relish, still in that fight 1v1. It's been so long, Jefe. No kills picked up yet. And this may finally be the pressure necessary for Imagine Cloud to confidently walk away with priority. Queen Liar comes down, but Mizaya expends their ultimate.
Yeah, before the game we talked about the split push synergy from both the Aatrox and the Scion, and it seems like at this point it's relatively even on no one's going to die in that split push, but also not much is going to get accomplished either.
Yeah, and with all that action across the map, gold still somehow remaining even. And right now, one of the big things to note is that this could be Soul for DPS if Imagine Cloud just get punished too heavily as they try to approach this pit. We've already seen them bungle a few fights here in the bot side river, Jefe. This is their time to try to turn that narrative around. And if they can delay the Soul here, they may have a shot at pushing forward and getting a solid lead in this game.
For sure. I am a little concerned with their positioning. It does seem like they are grouped to a point where if the Lux were able to get off a good stun or All
You know,
just
like that one, Jefe. Swift Duelist already at half health, has to make it outside of the range of the curtain call, and that allows for the wrap around. Messiah is here alongside Queen Liar. Kenzie, with their ultimate, is able to lock down everybody in Magic Cloud's side. Gruer tries to turn around, get back on into this one, but the Scion takes no damage. It's going to be a near wipe. Imagine Cloud falls, and DPS get the soul. They get the priority mid, and they may even call for the Baron.
Yeah, like I was talking about before, Cloud, imagine Cloud absolutely just putting themselves in a terrible spot in the middle of the jungle. They're grouped up. Now, who knows what DPS can get from that fight.
Yeah, the Stro was alive throughout all of this, and Kenzie now may be taken down in the 1v1 around this dragon. The Stro gets the kill, and I think that this will save the soul from the side of DPS, although they will parlay this into a Baron. It's not everything they so desire, but now they are still very much ahead in this fight.
Here's the Lux.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. The Stro pushes forward here. Latte Macchiato has to flash out. The Gragas has some meat on his bones. The laser beam going to get dodged by the body slam. Gruer coming on up. Stro continuing to sidestep all of the abilities from red team. The blast plant going to be used defensively. Latte Macchiato gets shut down because of the speed boost that Just Relish got from moving into the enemy jungle. And suddenly, Imagine Cloud come alive. They stop the soul take even after a near ace when they were around the dragon at first call, and suddenly this team has evened up yet again, although DPS still have the buff on so many of their members.
It really seemed like DPS was a little conflicted on what exactly to take first. Did they want to do the Baron, the Soul? They were all split up there and ended up, you know, getting the Baron, but definitely not pushing that advantage that they had just gotten from that massive fight to the extent they should have.
Seriously, if they just left one more person there to help Kenzie take the dragon, they could have killed the Gragas, and then they could have all rotated over and gotten the Baron before Imagine Cloud could do anything about it. But now we're seeing a further throw. DPS is going to have their jungler picked on off with the death ball from Imagine Cloud, although Jhin trying to slow everybody down with the suppressive fire from their ultimate. Imagine Cloud able to sneak back on out towards their territory, but they want more. It's gonna be an explosive cask over the wall. The Stro gets another. Messiah now the one in a whole lot of trouble. Latte Vanilla coming on in, still an incredibly strong member of Red Squad. He's going to be able to force shot the Aatrox to death. Swift Duelist goes down as well. Dr. Dad pops their ultimate, but it's too little, too late. The greed is a real. Imagine Cloud give a triple kill over to the Jhin.
The Jhin absolutely just cleaning up here, and it looks like the Gragas wants some more, but I don't think the Jin's going to stick around much longer with the
And all the while, Queen Liar getting the split of their life bot side of the map. They don't have the fastest tower take, but with the Baron buff, that doesn't even matter. Gragas needs to get back home, and they will be able to do so, but I think that they're losing at least a tower, if not the inhibitor for it.
And Akali here can definitely solo the Gragas. That should not be an issue.
Yeah, but it looks like they are going to play it safe here. Queen Liar does back off. We may have lost Jefe again, but regardless, yeah, right now, Imagine a Cloud. They really had a shot in this one, but they gave up so much with that play topside. Latte Vanilla, absolutely unstoppable now on that Jhin, picking up so many kills, 13, 1, and 9, nearing full build. They only got to sell that Dorn's Blade, and they'll be there. Scary situation for sure. Kaisa so far behind in this one, even up on CS. They just could not get the multi-kill snowball that they desired for this game. And now we go back to an old chestnut. Dragon's coming up soon. Imagine Cloud need to stop it if they want to prevent a soul take, but how can they do it when they're in so much of a gold deficit?
Certainly no path forward from what I can see at the moment, but maybe a pick here, a pick there. They slowly,
and Brewer, unfortunate positioning, just going up against the old Scion lane cheese. They're stuck in the alcove. Queen Liar is there as insurance, and it just doesn't matter. The Yasuo dead, and while he will be up, I believe, before the dragon spawns, this just speaks to the fact that right now Imagine Cloud is struggling to walk up and try to reclaim any amount of territory.
Also very interesting how Brewer has built no armor penetration despite the Diana and Scion being basically pure armor at this point. Will be very hard to do damage to them at this state in the game.
Just relished, flashes out, but Latte Vanilla getting one last auto attack down, going legendary off of the kill on that Aatrox. The Stro has to try to get out of dodge, is once again all slowed up, but luckily manages to make it out with their life intact. But all the while, the remaining members of Imagine and Cloud crumbling, watching their base get taken. Mizaya continuing on that split push. We're a minute out from the dragon spawn, but unfortunately, I think that we've been seeing these last few skirmishes, Jefe. There's no way that Imagine Cloud can step to DPS without a miracle in the works.
Exactly, yeah. Without a pick on maybe the Diana or a Kali, it's just going to be so hard. But even then, that as we saw before, whenever they got the pick, Diana just used her stopwatch to stall for some time. Soon she'll have the Zonias completed, so it's going to be even harder to get those picks out.
6,000 gold lead right now for DPS. Imagine Cloud going to struggle if they even want to try to go for this fight. And Gragas has really found themselves deep on lock in enemy territory. He's split away from the rest of the team, as we see Dr. Dad having to use Crash Down just to make sure they aren't picked before the fight even begins. I see Gragas on that flank, but really, what can they do? Do they need to be there to prevent the death of their AD carry? Swift Duelist is knocked down for nothing, and now for sure Imagine Cloud just has to concede away this objective, although the Stro getting caught out once again. Jin W does so much to root down and control the area of this fight. Just Relish taken to half health, and this is going to be Soul now all for DPS.
Akali tried to flash the wall there, actually failed her flash, but ended up getting out alive just due to purely how strong and tanky the rest of her team is, being able to provide that support for her. So
yeah, and I mean, honestly, what does Imagine Cloud have to do to get back into this one now, Jefe? Because I don't think that they could even walk up to this newly spawned Baron either. And with Akali on split push the whole while, they're being attacked from all sides.
At this point, it's going to be really difficult for barring a miracle for
Oh, the Stro. Oh no, the Stro. He gets caught out, has to go into stasis, avoids Lux ultimate, but I think that this speaks to the fact that there's no way to really walk up against the Baron. They're just gonna have to turtle for the next few minutes. I mean, Imagine Cloud is rolling in dough, super happy to just continue to pressure the map and get a win by death by 1,000 cuts. Queen's Lyre down onto the backline. Brewer in a whole lot of trouble here. Rail trying to push forward, ults down on to the remaining members of a DPS. And here's the follow-up from Swift Duel. Is able to ult so far away, but unfortunately the damage output from DPS is living up to their name. Latte Macchiato able to burst down multiple members. Latte Vanilla is dead though. Mizaya still alive alongside the Lux, the remaining members of DPS. Imagine Cloud come out all right in that fight, but they've expended so many resources, and the Baron still falls for red team.
Certainly wasn't the worst possible thing that could have happened for them, but they're, the little wins coming out even in that fight, giving up the Barons will slowly maybe give them some hope, but at this point it's going to be, again, really hard for Imagine Cloud to push their way back into this one.
Yeah, I mean, right now they have shrunk the gold lead, but it's going to start expanding once again with DPS able to push these lanes out and get towers for themselves. I mean, maybe this is going to be the time where DPS begins to greed, and you could see picks in favor of Imagine Cloud. They did manage to shut down Latte Vanilla, but he's still a constant, terrifying threat against this team. So that's something to watch out for. Maybe Brewer will eventually scale to the point where he's able to actually impact fights, but for the time being, Imagine Cloud still on the back foot, still have to play defensively, and I'm not really sure what their pathway to victory is.
For sure, and Brewer with the interesting stopwatch buy. Not 100% sure if that's what he needs right now, but alas, maybe he feels like he's getting caught out a little too much.
Has managed to get it to that third item spike, so he will be a force to be reckoned with, but the Death's Dance still conceding a little bit of damage to the fact that right now DPS has the burst on their side.
For sure, and with all the armor that DPS has in the form of Scion and even Akali and Diana at this point, it's gonna be really hard for DPS to even get out that damage.
Yeah, and Latte Macchiato is able to clip Just Relish, who even in a god form cannot do anything up against the Light Mage. It will be one more picked off. DPS now able to storm into the base of Imagine Cloud, who have to mount a dying defense here as a 4v5. We'll see what the engage is going to be. Swift Duelist tries to go on in, is caught out. Messiah going to be able to go dominant off of that play, and Dr. Dad, a little bit of miscommunication, goes to the backline, but with no follow-up is going to die as well. And so with the Stro and Gruer, the last remaining members, and the last Nexus Tower falling, DPS is going to claim game number 2 and take us to round 3.
What a absolute great comeback by DPS. They saw what their mistakes last game. They saw that they were maybe pushing fights they shouldn't have. They saw their vision deficiencies and really corrected a lot of those mistakes this game to win a great game too.
Yeah, for sure. Showing that Aatrox and all that, they got a 0% win rate in this series, so maybe it's blue side that's the cursed one. We saw this happen in BTL yesterday as well, Jefe. So, hey, now with the third game on the table, Imagine Cloud need to turn it back around. Ball's back in their court now, and they got to try to figure out what to do when DPS has the wind at their back, and they did so well, building off of Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato, who struggled in game number 1.
Yeah, for sure. I have to say the MVP for me was certainly the Lux pick. The Lux ended up out damaging both the Akali and the Diana for DPS, and that just goes to show you how strong that support pick can be for
Yeah,
Latte
for sure.
Macchiato.
Yeah, and things were looking so scary for them early. Swift Duelist got the early double kill. They had the gold advantage in the lane, but unfortunately, a little bit of an overeager call by Dr. Dad and Swift Duelist allowed for the Jhin to answer back. And once they were at parity, Lux's pick potential really came out swinging. They did so much to tear apart Imagine Cloud. Many of the fights were determined and defined by the ability for Latte Macchiato and Kenzie to just walk up to overextended members of Imagine Cloud, get them down, and make it a 4v5 that they were happy to take. So yeah, Imagine Cloud have to go back to the drawing board as well. This has been a back and forth series for sure. We're gonna throw it to a quick break, Jefe, but when we return, it'll be for the draft of game number 3 between Imagine Cloud and DPS.
Wait, nah, what's good with you, Cat? How you been? How you been? God Squad the best? Yes, sir.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the BTL. We are here with game number 3 between DPS and Imagine Cloud. It's been a banger series so far. Games traded back between each other, and so far, red side seems to be the one out on top. We'll see how DPS is going to have to adapt to being back on blue with that first pick, because clearly Aatrox hasn't been working out the last few games.
Yeah, that Aatrox pick, traditionally very meta in pro play, seems to be falling a little short, but perhaps it's just because the priority of picking that first pick Aatrox can give the other team a little bit more of a head start in terms of planning against it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, honestly, both sides have been busting out some solid choices that aren't really in the meta, but are really just faring super well because of the amount of comfort that these players have on those champions. That Jin last game for Latte Vanilla and the Lux from Latte Macchiato, that's not a combo that I was expecting, but boy, did it sure work out for DPS, who are actually going to claim Aatrox for the third time in this series here with the first pick.
That Aatrox pick hasn't won so far, so let's see if DPS can switch things around there. Certainly a strong pick, but you have to wonder if the same game plan doesn't work twice already, what the game plan is this time.
Yeah, and Imagine Cloud going back to the old reliable Renekton for Just Relish, who, as we said, was weak sided pretty heavily in game number one, but still managed to come out on top there. And the Seraphine also locked on in. This time it's being stolen away. DPS had that as their second pick in game number one. So a little bit of a flip of the script, but familiar faces abound nonetheless.
Yep, so far the exact same comp except for just switch the teams up, but hopefully this time the Aatrox can do a little bit more on that top side, being the stronger pick of the two versus the Renekton.
Yeah, maybe we'll see a little shift in priority from the Stro. They've oftentimes just tried to hover bot side and get those players ahead, but it clearly didn't work out in game number two. And now we may actually begin to see a change around what champion they're going to go to. It's also totally up to interpretation and up to speculation right now. I think that the pair of them alongside Brewer was the core engine that allowed for Imagine Cloud to function well in game number one. And we are seeing Brewer return back to the Echo here.
For sure, and the Lux and Jin combo worked so well for DPS last game, they decided to stick with it again. So this time, maybe uh, Imagine Cloud has a better game plan to perhaps stop that lane from snowballing out of control.
Yeah, and we'll see exactly what they're going to go for. The Seraphine is locked in, and that kind of implies to me that it's either going for Swift Duelist or Dr. Dad. The question is it the support or the bot laner? I kind of hope that we get a little bit more attack damage, so hopefully Dr. Dad will be piloting it this time, but there's still a whole lot on the table. We're going to have to see what bans go through first. Akali and Maokai so far knocked out of the draw.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like Imagine Cloud commonly tries to take a more flexible approach to the draft phase, having the Seraphine and Echo really being able to flex all over the map.
Yeah, I would be surprised if the Stro will be the one piloting Echo this time around. I think that Brewer did so well that taking him away from this champ would be a big disappointment, at least in my eyes. I think Imagine Cloud needs that rock of an assassin to go with. Camille being hovered right now, that would be an interesting selection for sure.
Yeah, if Camille gets picked, then would she go top lane and
Might be jungle?
jungle? Okay, there we go. The Sivir comes out for Imagine Cloud.
Yeah, and so we still have to figure out who's going to go into the jungle position for IC. But DPS, on the other hand, two flat picks here. They need to find a jungler, they need to find a mid laner, and we'll see exactly how they try to splash these. I think that I would want another engager, something that is able to work off of Lux binding, given the fact that Latte Macchiato is super stable and super adept at hitting those binds, something that is able to burst people down. Maybe the Diana again would be a nice selection. The Silas coming out first here to answer back against the Seraphine, though.
Yeah, that Silas has been seeing a lot of play recently, and I'm surprised it hasn't come out sooner. So if the Silas can get snowballed early, then certainly quite can do quite a bit of damage down the line into late game.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen what this champion can do at all levels of play, and I think that it's a pretty traditional answer back against the Seraphine. Stealing Echo ult, also not a big problem, but DPS, we saw Kenzie talking about how they were very grumpy with the Lilia ban in game number two, and so they're finally going to get it out here, but this is a lot of magic damage for DPS.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key for Imagine Cloud here is just going to be building MR, but the Rengar hover here is certainly going to be an interesting comp if they decide to go for it.
They have some relatively squishy champions to burst down. If this champion can snowball, I could definitely see it working out, but I'm a little bit happier with the Zac pick. I think that the tank is very necessary to act as a front line, a primary engage tool if Seraphine's Encore doesn't work out, because otherwise you're just kind of running in blind. And so I like this choice. Great high tempo plays early. Will be able to kind of put Lily onto the back foot or hoof, as it were. So very, very nice setup all around. I like how both of these teams are responding. It's kind of a greatest hits in a way. Swift Duelist on the Sivir, the Seraphine coming back to the fray alongside the Echo, but the Jhin Lux a bot lane holding strong for DPS, and that's where my eyes are going to turn because this really defined game number 2.
For sure, yeah, that bot lane is going to be quite a going to guess, contested battle because both are relatively aggro lanes with the Seraphine and the Lux, so definitely wanna see how that one plays out.
What I will say is that the Seraphine Sivir lane has the ability to just kind of sit back and wave clear up against Lux Jin. They don't have to be quite as aggro because they scale a little bit better. But Seraphine, as you're kind of pointing out, can play aggressively into the Lux. They have the range advantage, actually. And if they're able to play around the spell rotations of Latte Macchiato, this could be the means by which Imagine Cloud tries to establish dominance early. And the Stro, hey, may be pathing bot for the 3rd game in a row.
Yeah, that'll be, not a sight for sore eyes at least, so I definitely wanna see a bot lane focus here in terms of getting that Jhin snowballed, getting that Sivir snowballed in order to really, really push for that late game. While I have a feeling that the Aatrox and Renekton might just be sort of isolated in that top lane for the beginning portions.
Yeah, and we like we said before, Just Relish perfectly fine with that. They've been playing weak side most of these games. They actually got some solid solo kills up against Mizaya Scion in game number 2. But now that the Aatrox is back on the menu, I imagine Just Relish's goal is to get back down towards the Lux, towards the Jin in the team fight, and just ensure that Seraphine's Encore can land true, that Zac is able to get a solid hop on in via Elastic Slingshot, or that Echo could pick off one of these core carries from the blue squad.
For sure. Yeah, I do definitely think that with the CC advantage that Zach brings to Imagine Cloud, they will have a relatively tough time breaking through that front line. So I'm interested to see how DPS deals with it.
Yeah, a lot riding on this one. Both teams have strut their stuff, have shown that they're capable of winning games in this matchup. The question is, with these teams locked on in, who's going to come out on top to end the series in their favor? DPS versus Imagine a Cloud, about to go into game number 3. We're going to throw it to a quick break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay. But when we return, it's going to be an absolutely banger game to close out tonight in the BTL. Everybody, make sure you stay tuned.
Let's put some gravy on it.
And yet again, an even a play, but when combined with the what happened bot side, DPS ahead.
Certainly DPS gave up a lot less in that fight. I felt like Imagine Cloud were basically playing on the defensive there. And now with this bot lane already up 2 kills, it's hard to imagine how Imagine Cloud gets back into it.
Yeah, Latte Macchiato playing from Bush, getting solid control down with Kenzie down here as well. This is going to allow for the Jhin to push with impunity, but the Stro coming around, and now everybody's fighting within red teams a wave, and that poke down means that eventually Dr. Dad is able to claim the kill against the Jhin. Unfortunately, doesn't go over to Swift Duelist, but still, that's gold back on the board for red team.
Very interesting seeing the Lilia back off there despite the Jhin hitting his W and going in. I would have expected a little more aggression from Lilia there.
Yeah,
to
and
submit.
speaking about aggression, Jefe, the Stro, elastic slingshotting over the wall, getting the gummy arms onto Latte Macchiato. He didn't have passive, so that was quite the gamble, but at the end of that, it's still not going to be a kill for either team. Imagine Cloud gets priority back, though, and the game is back under control. Both sides about even now.
Yep, certainly a better trade this time in favor of Imagine Cloud. So glad to see them, especially the Zac, focusing that lane, knowing that we don't want our bot to get too behind after that double kill at the start there.
Yeah, and right now with the dragon up, I think that picks are going to become all that much more valuable. We'll see if the action is going to continue here, but if either team pushes their luck and accidentally falls down in a fight, it could easily be first drag over to one of these sides, and from there the snowball can begin.
For sure, yeah. It looks like the mid lane CS differential is getting a bit gappy with about almost 10 CS lead, but for the most part, every other lane is keeping on tap with each other.
Yeah, nice little route there with a doubled up E from Dr. Dad, but now the Jhin able to give chase because Kenzie's in the area. Swift Duelist gets rooted again, is able to fortunately kite behind the wave though, and so even though the Lilia has pitched the tent bot side, Imagine Cloud remaining relatively stable, playing safe and understanding that they are going to be behind for the time being, just because Latte Vanilla still dominating on that gold respect.
Yeah, and you have to realize the cleanse on Sivir here isn't simply due to, you know, playing afraid. It's because there's just so much CC on the side of DPW's bot lane with the Glux's stuns and roots, as well as the Jin's W as well.
Yeah, and right now it's just such an oppressive situation, DPS, with almost perma prio here. But luckily, we've seen Gruer constantly roam in this game, and I think that here in round number 3, this could really come to fruition as them getting some solid ganks down onto Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato if they overextend. But at the same time, Jefe, you pointed out that current CS gap between them and Queen Lyre mid, and that's something else to watch out for. If this Echo gets too far behind, this Sylas can really just become a team fighting monster, sustaining through everything and dishing out tons of damage of their own.
For sure, yeah. Really, the Sylas just has to keep it close. I think in later game situations, Sylas does tend to outperform Echo just by a bit. So just making sure that he keeps the lane close, doesn't give up any easy, cheap kills. I think Sylas will be just all right there.
Yeah, Mizaya and Just Relish continue to go at it. Just Relish pops the ultimate. World Ender comes out as well from the Aatrox, but they're staying about even in this lane. Mizaya has that push priority once again. The Stro is clearing out the red buff topside, so maybe if Aatrox gets a little bit too hover-oriented, we could in fact see the Zac go up there, but Kenzie returns bot side meanwhile and wants to once again push up against Imagine Cloud's bot lane, and it really is just a matter of this map almost being fully split down the middle. Zac needs to try to do some more to get back out here onto the map, get a bit more presence, and help these lanes out.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like he is prioritizing bot lane as much as I thought he would, given the early trade that his team managed to lose. So I'm not sure if his plan is to really try to snowball the Renekton or focus bot side, but so far it looks like only Lilia is the is the one that's truly focusing that bot side lane.
Which is a little bit surprising. Elastic Slingshot is going to get the Zac out, and Gruer also probably able to escape unless Lilia wants to pop R. But with Renekton and River, I think that that would be a difficult task for sure. Here's the Blast Blind over the wall, though. Mizaya may be looking for something here, but the Death Roll means just Relish is perfectly fine here. But now, with the conceded priority to Blue Squad in that topside River, could this be Rift Herald claimed up for DPS?
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have the numbers advantage with Lux coming up to help them out, whereas now the Jhin will be alone at bot side, but should be able to manage and clear out the wave without her.
Yeah, Latte Vanilla still has the cleanse up, so even if you do get charmed by Seraphine Encore, I think that this is going to be a very difficult dive for Swift Duelist and Dr. Dad. So this is a good call. Latte Macchiato able to get up there, help make sure that Shelly goes into the possession of DPS, and across the board, it's still a small advantage for them, and really, they kind of need it given how well a red team is going to be scaling in this one.
For sure. Yeah, that Lux Jhin combo is scary, but don't get me wrong, Sivir and Seraphine scale almost just as well, so
Yeah, we also have some action topside of the map. Mizaya going to get bursted from 100% to nothing by just Relish and the Stro. And so Imagine Cloud pick another uncontested kill up. That gold lead has shrunk to only about 300 in their favor.
looks like he, the Renekton, even though we didn't expect a lot of attention to be paid topside, the Zax really seems to be favoring that side of the map in order to help out his top laner, which I don't know if it's going to if that's going to bear fruit later on, but right now it seems to be working quite well.
Hey, shut down Mizaya, get them behind, really. We don't want another Aatrox playing a big role in these games. That being said, all the while, DPS, still with that gold advantage, able to make the call because of the Stro topside to grab themselves not only that Rift Herald, but a Dragon now. And so, in terms of neutral objectives, they're doing quite well for themselves. They're in a comfortable position, and they're going to get more gold if they're able to drop this Herald before the 14-minute mark.
For sure, yeah, DPS seems to be controlling the vision here, controlling the objectives, which, with their team comp is quite the scary thing.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we aren't seeing quite as explosive of a bot lane. As we kind of predicted, Swift Duelist and Dr. Dad are playing a bit more respectful of Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato, and because of that, we aren't seeing multiple deaths coming through for DPS or Imagine Cloud's side. And so I don't think we're going to be seeing as much of a steamroll from the Jhin this time around, although this champion is still very scary because they had so much gold put onto them off of that early double kill.
For sure, yeah, but the bot lane of DPS is going to have a harder time pushing out the wave simply due to the Sivir, and if they don't start up some fights or really push the initiative, then they're just going to get out pushed in that lane.
Yeah, currently farm is about even, but that is a dynamic to watch out for as this lane continues. We are seeing yet again a clustering of blue team members down bot. They're pushing through that tri-bush, trying to grab that scuttle and just get more priority for their team. Because, like I said before, Kenzie very much kind of sacrificing the power farming dynamic that Lilias often go for to just play aggressively, try to get the Jhin ahead here. And now we're seeing action in the mid lane. Here's the pull forward, Slingshot going to land. Stro able to get the smackdown on both the Lilia and the Sylas. Sylas steals away. Echo R, though, is able to gain back quite a bit of their life, and now he's going to go down with a Abduct and Abscond upon the Stro, who has their passive popped yet again. But I think this time around, DPS is going to come back out on top. Lux Laser going to help knock down the last few blobs, and Queen Lyre walks away with a double kill.
That was beautifully played over on the side of DPS. I don't know if maybe the Stro felt like he had the upper hand there, but it clearly seemed like he was caught off guard.
Yeah, I think that they weren't expecting the stolen Echo Arc to do so much for Queen Lyre. Kenzie was low, so I understand why you pulled the trigger on that fight. And Gruer did a whole lot to make sure that both of these champions were pushed back. But at the end of the day, Echo just unfortunately didn't have the full burst necessary to work through both of the members of DPS. Just Relish in a little bit of trouble topside here, is pushed under turret, so has the shots going for themselves, but they are low. They do have to back here, and without teleport, honestly, Mizaya's been doing a very good job, even while weak-sided, to get up on CS versus the Renekton. And we talked about the scaling of this champion before. They're absolutely monstrous, especially when compared to what happens once you move to a team fighting composition for Just Relish.
For sure, yeah. The Renekton with on the Ignite really, had to win lane here in order to sort of justify that summoner spell. And given that the lane is honestly even in DPS's favor, it doesn't really seem like that that choice is paying off. And as the game keeps on going, the Renekton will just continue to lose scaling while the Aatrox will continue to pick it up.
And it really becomes a question of what are you going to be doing with Just Relish as the game progresses. They don't even have the teleport. They went for the aggressive Ignite there in lane, but they can't really split push because of that. Mizaya will always have priority. Meanwhile, mid lane, Gruer in a rough trade up against Queen Lyre has to back off from that one. It's a scary position all around. Imagine Cloud have their bright spots, but they're down about 1,000 gold right now. And until Swift Duelist and Dr. Dad actually fully scale, I think that they just have to play on the back foot. Kenzie so omnipresent across the map, incredible priority given over to DPS for the time being.
The Stro almost pulled the trigger there on that engage, but maybe realized that Lilia was close by and decided to stop when he didn't have the vision.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens now with us moving towards next dragon. The Stro really just trying to forge ahead and reduce the vision that DPS has right now. But DPS has been getting first mover advantage so frequently off of their gains across these bot and mid lanes. And because of that, they're the first one to start up the second Drake of the game. They're stacking once more. Imagine Cloud, I think, are just going to concede this, parlay it away for the second Rift Herald of the game topside.
Again, just like last game, DPS is controlling these objectives and making it really hard vision-wise for Imagine Cloud to even have any idea of what's going on there.
Yeah, and with the Stro getting out with the Eye, this is at least a way for Imagine Cloud to try to reestablish dominance across the Rift. No towers have been fully taken yet, although top and mid for Red Squad are looking very, very low. But maybe with a pick, with a dropping of that Herald, the Stro can get at least the ball back into Imagine Cloud's court regarding priority. It's just going to have to happen soon.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that the Stro at this point in time is going to have that priority, but the more that he ganks, the more that he puts that map vision down, I think we'll see better control of the map there.
Yeah, Jefe, whenever you say I can't imagine, I just have to say, oh, can you now with Imagine Cloud? But I've been holding back. I thought I would just flag that though.
Yeah, it's an easy pun to make, but I don't take the easier ones,
Oh, I see. You are more professional than that. All right, we're seeing the setup here. The Stro goes on in, but with Latte Maki Auto hiding there within the bush. Now Zach just has to pop ult and get out. Luckily, Lilting Lullaby is only going to activate once they're within the safety range of their tower. Dr. Dad now on the rotation up. So many members of Imagine Cloud, though, are getting poked down, and that's going to bait out the curtain call from Latte Vanilla, who's just going to provide so much in the way of suppressive fire. Red team has to beat a retreat back towards this tower. That being said, while this all happened, it is going to be Imagine Cloud getting first turret bot side.
Imagine Cloud really just seemed a little, I would say, just not prepared for that fight. They it looked like they wanted to go in for a second, but ended up not fully committing, making it a little
Oh, and
awkward.
here's the dive. Dr. Dad in a whole lot of trouble. Everfrost comes out. Queen Liar gets the kill. Swift Duelist can only watch in horror as their support is knocked down like a twig in a stiff gust of wind. It's a tough situation. Imagine Cloud in a whole lot of trouble as the mid-tier 1 gets sieged.
Their top tier 1 isn't doing so hot either. It looks like the objective battle is certainly going DPS's way here.
And across the board right now, DPS maybe not reflecting the advantages they have right now with their gold lead, but they are doing so well to just put pressure onto Imagine Cloud and force them into rough situations. As we see Botside Brewer up against 3 collapsing members from DPS. Ultimate comes out. He tries to go down onto Kenzie, but it's not enough of a burst. And so therefore, it's another kill uncontested claimed for DPS.
You can just see the vision game being played here, and while TPS has control wards throughout the river, the Imagine Cloud team really has to put these defensive control wards in their own jungle simply because of the map control that TPS has and the turret control. So it's going to be a tough struggle to reestablish that vision back on Imagine Cloud's side.
Yeah, we do see the Rift Herald drop to mid. It's not even necessary, though, as Imagine Cloud is able to grab that tier 1, and they will be able to force a second charge out of it, but for the time being, they can't actually walk all the way down, get the tier 2 out of the way, and DPS allowing for Mizaya to continue to pressure that top side. Just Relish forced to flash away and is now going to have to stay under the safety of their tier 2. Maybe want to turn this around as Zach is in the area. He'll jump on in, and Mizaya 2 levels up against the enemy jungler, but Just Relish with the Ignite proc still there, still ready to claim a kill if the opportunity arises. And so Imagine Cloud able to get something back here, but they are now about 1,500 gold behind.
For sure. Mizaya was definitely a little more pushed up than he should have been there, but for good reason. Unfortunately, the rest of Imagine Cloud was just mid lane having good vision of their jungle and being able to collapse on the Aatrox.
Next dragon coming up soon, as we talked about before. DPS very much on top of stacking these objectives, and now it's becoming a bit scary if they're able to get a third drag here uncontested, or even better, if they're able to win a team fight then grab it. Imagine Cloud very much are going to be forced into rough fights later on in this game, and with DPS already doing so well playing with their prio, I think that this could be the death knell for Imagine Cloud's macro.
I think it's really going to depend on this dragon fight. Whoever wins this most likely can turn it into a Baron if it's a, clean ace or something like a sweep. So we have to see what plays out here.
Yeah, and we are seeing the dance around dragon go through. Imagine Cloud actually working forward pretty well, but now Mizaya is going to go down onto this front line. Meanwhile, the back line themselves are going to engage with one another, but it's going to be Kenzie dying first. The Stro's still up, so it's going to be the jungler for Imagine Cloud with a slight advantage, but Just Relish trying to act as a peeler is going to fall to Latte Macchiato, who stays at high health, and now with the curtain call from the back line and the double for both the support and the top laner of DPS. This goes in favor of blue team. They will get nearly their ace as the Zac is the last one left alive. Mizaya cleans it up, and it is going to be Imagine Cloud once again falling behind in this game.
That's exactly what I was talking about. If after this dragon, they can maybe make a push for Baron with these death timers, and now with little resistance in terms of damage, it seems like really at this point DPS can do whatever they want.
And it's very much echoes of game number 2 here, Jefe. I mean, really, Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato are just the MVPs of the series so far for me, especially the Lux. My goodness me, the double kill off that fight, the fantastic positioning, and the fact that, given the fact that you have a support that is doing damage, you need your front line to come from elsewhere. Kenzie and Mizaya and Queen Liar all stepping up to the plate and making sure that DPS functions as a well-oiled machine during team team fights. That being said, Silas coming forward may be able to get the kill down onto Swift Duelist, but it's nice placement of the cleanse and flash means they're able to extend their life, but not for too long. The W comes in. Here's the push forward. The Stro pops ultimate. Liar goes low, but not too low to fall, and so it will be another kill picked up for DPS for nothing in return as Messiah and Gruer go for it bot side. Messiah with a clear advantage in health right here, and it's just going to be a few more smacks of the Q for the Echo to die as well. Blue team may be able to call for Baron.
You know, we were questioning that Aatrox pick at the beginning there, you know, having been on the losing team the past two
Whoa, the
games.
grab over the wall. Sorry, Jefe, gotta interrupt you there. Queen Liar heads up play. They took away the blast plan. They read the death roll. Just Relish going to fall, and that's going to be the trigger for the Baron. DPS dominating in this game number 3.
It seems like Imagine Cloud just collapsed from that game 1 victory. This entire game has been just getting picked off and basically no counterplay available. I really want to
awkward positioning now from Imagine Cloud. They have to get into the pit. The Stro uses Elastic Slingshot to do so, and while they may repel DPS, they have to be careful because they're really gambling on Latte Macchiato not hitting Qs. If those do land true, you could just be giving more gold and another neutral objective over to Blue Squad.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, the Messiah here's on the split push is no small feat here, trying to basically put even more pressure on this Imagine Cloud team.
Brewer trying to get something done against Queen Liar, but they get back towards this tier 1 fast enough for, I think, Silas to have a nice pathway back towards their base. Brewer, I think, will just have to claim this topside tier 1 tower for Imagine Cloud, and this is an objective bounty, which is nice for them, but overall, it's still Imagine very much struggling.
You could just see off that Gruer combo, the Echo does very little damage to the Silas. You know, usually at this point in the game, you'd expect that Echo pick to be bursting down the opposing mid laner or carries. It seems like.
Yeah, but Imagine Cloud actually going for a solid pick at enemy jungle here. The Encore comes out, and that is Silas going golden. The shutdown goes over to the Seraphine from a Latte Macchiato, and Queen Liar not too far behind. And that could be the turnaround Imagine needs. They have first dibs over Baron now.
This is certainly a great power play to get that Baron, get that gold, some of that gold back, and hopefully be able to turn this game around.
Ping's coming out. DPS is here. I think that they won't be able to stop this Baron short of a hero play by Kenzie. But the real question is, can DPS stop these backs and actually get a wipe in return? Death timer's ticking low. Latte Macchiato might be here. Here's the melee. The scrap goes down. DPS is able to get the Baron for themselves. But Messiah on the backline smacking away with their World Ender up. It's the triple kill for the Aatrox. Gruer has to get out of dodge. But at the end of the day, DPS answer back, and they may not get the Baron, but they get more kills and more gold on their plates.
That certainly was the right call, but just the speed at which they do Baron is simply not high enough. Once the Aatrox gets in that pit, it's a slaughter.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, DPS, I think, are pretty comfortable with that trade, actually, because using the death timers and given the fact that the Baron is really only on Gruer and Dr. Dad, I think that they're going to be able to actually maybe even stop the Echo from getting back to tower here. He drops ultimate. Queen Liar going to continue to stand on top of them. Stolen Encore comes out. That's going to charm up Dr. Dad. That's one of the Baron buffs remaining down. Gruer still has it up, but I think that
Oh my goodness.
heal back because Messiah is just absolutely disgusting right now. They got their ultimate back up, and they get themselves another double kill.
There is no stopping this Aatrox. Absolutely monstrous at this point in the game. 10-3 and 5, 700 gold bounty. There's essentially, unless they kill him right at the start somehow, picking him off, I don't see Imagine Cloud winning a team fight.
I don't see them winning this game. I'll be 100% honest here, Jefe. I mean, yeah, they made some solid plays, had good control of vision topside, and that allowed for the double pick. but now DPS just is able to swing everything back in their favor at what feels like a moment's notice. They have fully grown into absolute monsters across the board. Brewer here has to try to escape, but has the Jin ult at their back, and now Kenzie is on top of the Echo. Echo able to eat over the wall, but he doesn't really have a way out of the Baron pit until the cooldown comes back. He's just going to try to hit B, and maybe with the empowered return to base, he'll be able to just get out alive. That seems to be the case here across the board, though. DPS still very much ahead. They don't really care about individual kills. It's all about just getting more and more objectives. Hextech Soul is theirs. Elder Dragon is next.
At the end of the day, right, League of Legends isn't team deathmatch. It's a tower defense game, and the more so they can just push down these objectives, the faster they'll be able to basically force that fight and get the win.
I mean, death timers are long, and that pick could be the way that you push down the rest of these towers, Jefe. But I get what you're saying, and right now, Imagine Cloud, behind on every single metric, is going to have to play super aggressive, get themselves some picks, and in turn translate that towards towers if they want to way back into this. But right now, they're down 5,000 gold, and most of it is on Mizaya, who, look at this 1v1, is just able to walk all over every single person on Imagine Cloud's side. They're legendary. They've been legendary for a while. Children will tell tales of the Aatrox smashing down onto the Renekton.
Absolutely unfair. Mizaya, after that fight with full health, that's just the power of Aatrox right there. Nothing you can do about a fed Aatrox.
Fair healing. They reduced healing during the durability update, don't you know?
Hey, you know, if that's what Riot thinks is right, then who am I to argue?
But clearly, yeah, it's still balanced on the Aatrox. They are not at 100% pick ban in Worlds or anything like that. Wow, crazy champion right now. And this is really the first time we're seeing it shine, but this is why these teams have been trading this pick back and forth the entirety of this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the focus didn't even go towards the Aatrox in this game. The Renekton, on the other hand, got a lot of help from the Stro, Zac, and even then, Aatrox was able to snowball pretty much out of control, while this Renekton is just left looking for bits and crumbs, trying to get back in the game.
Swiftulus and Dr. Dad are doing a good job repelling most of these pushes without Baron, so DPS isn't really able to walk this game home quite yet, especially if Imagine Cloud continues to play a little bit more safely. But now, with the timer ticking down on this Baron respawn, they need to try to get back out onto the map, and Imagine Cloud, it's going to be risky wherever they walk.
For sure. Yeah, I don't honestly see, other than like a miracle play at this point, Imagine Cloud being able to even get a pick. Just everyone on their team is so extremely tanky, and the vision that DPS has around the map is so much better. However,
Yeah.
I do...
Oh, I was going to ask. Sorry about that, Jefe. The other question I had is, what do you think people are going to do about Mizaya? I mean, right now, I don't think anyone on Imagine Cloud can go for the 1v1, but sending multiple resources to deal with them on that split bot side could just lead to the Baron take, so DPS has to walk that fine line. And what are you hoping to see Imagine Cloud do about this issue?
I mean, I think the most they can do is send one, and even then, it's tough, because they would have to send most likely the Echo for the TP. Renekton doesn't even have that ability to get to the Baron fight, you know, with a TP. And as long as Messiah keeps on putting the pressure on that bot lane, I don't see how Imagine Cloud can both save the bot lane and save the Baron. They have to pick one.
Yeah, and speaking of Messiah, the Prodigal King hath returned to the mid lane. They're able to pick up the kill against Dr. Dad. They go down into the scrap. Eventually, the shutdown will be had by Just Relish, but the remaining members of DPS are scary in their own right. Latte Vanilla able to get the kill right back onto the Renekton.
A little overeager on Messiah's end, but all's well that ends well. There, he definitely has the kahunas in this situation, but at the end of the day, they're going to grab the mid tower and most likely mid inhib. So
Yeah, I mean, right now, down to members, Imagine Cloud just can't really step to the remaining members of DPS, even with the biggest threat on the board off of the game right now.
Yeah, I mean, they may have gotten Messiah, but what they gave up was of equal or more importance. They had to expend so many resources just to kill their top laner, and at this point, the Baron seems all but a foregone conclusion.
I'm actually kind of surprised DPS isn't forcing this harder. Queen Lyre maybe a little bit caught out here, but with Aatrox on the teleport, I think they could have easily just forced this objective, gotten an advantageous team fight, and ended the game, but I guess that they just want to preserve the lead all that much more, and so things still staying relatively safe. The Elastic Slingshots forward, not able to pick anything up, or at least sees the wave state and realize, hey, I can't actually fight this, but now Elder Dragon is on the table. Gruer been waiting there in the bush, is going to get punished by Messiah, who is just happy to take all comers. Kenzie going to be able to kill the Swift Duelist so quickly in this one, and while Just Relish dives on in, Latte Macchiato has the stasis necessary to stay alive, and now the Aatrox is able to split this fight, help get the double over to the Jhin, the triple in fact, and it's the full white. Imagine Cloud only has Gruer left alive, and he is not long for this world as we see the Lilting Lullaby come through. Laser Beam not even necessary. Latte Macchiato has damage to spare because of their teammates. DPS not even gonna grab the Baron, not even gonna grab the Elder Dragon, but they will emerge victorious here in game number 3 up against Imagine Cloud.
What a beautiful fight at the end there, picking off both the Sivir and the Seraphine just one by one, and really goes to show, you know, when you're up that much, you don't need a Baron. What's a Baron? You can just go for the straight up fight and basically win off that.
Yeah, for sure. Really impressive job there by DPS. They didn't let that first game a loss phase them. They immediately returned to the Rift and won through bot side. And this time they showed they aren't one-trick ponies. Although Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato did go back to the champions they won on game number 2. But Messiah coming through this time around, the true carry, 42,000 damage, more than lapping the field up against Just Relish. It's a scary proposition to let this champion through draft, and these teams did it every single time.
Yeah, that Renekton, Just Relish has tried his best to hold up, and the Stro constantly ganked for him, trying to get him ahead. But at the end of the day, Messiah's Aatrox just was able to hyperscale, got a few picks bot, was able to get a solo kill top, and at the end of the day, that's all it takes for Aatrox to do that for over 40k damage by the end of the game.
Just madness across the board. Congratulations to DPS on taking the series 2-1. They deserved it, honestly. I think that their macro was great, and they were just a fantastically well-balanced team on all fronts. I love the fact that even with the scaling champion, they didn't just stick to the script. Kenzie realized, hey, I could get my bot lane ahead early. Let me sacrifice a bit of farm, and that led to Latte Vanilla and Latte Macchiato in game number 3, still popping off, still doing tons of damage, still with great KDAs. So it really shows that they have a far to go here in the BTL. They did really well for themselves. Congratulations to them. And Imagine Cloud also, game number 1 proved that these guys are competitors. So I hope to see them again, returning back, playing some more, because they definitely have the fight in them.
For sure. This was a great best of 3 series, you know, Spurs seeing Imagine Cloud take that first game, but really DPS coming back and saying, "Hey, if you what you can do, we can do better," and ultimately taking the next 2. So really excited to see what's in store for both of these teams, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jefe, for being here with me, filling in and out of moments and notice. First time on the cast here with me for the BTL. You did a great job, and it was an honor working with you tonight. And thank you so much, everybody watching at home. You know, the BTL is what it is because of you guys, and I hope that we brought you an enjoyable cast this time around. Also, shout outs to Reno there on the production side of things, making sure that everything runs smoothly. We got a great experience because because Reno is here, pulling the levers, making the buttons function, and we saw sparks fly throughout this 3-game series for sure. We're going to throw to an end for the night, but thank you so much once again for tuning in, and make sure to continue to follow the BTL throughout these weeks. The season has been a banger so far. Join our Discord and stay up to date with everything that we have in store for you guys. But for tonight, we're going to wish you all a good one.